Do you think that Iran is a good country?
Much better than Israel.
I say that to the Iranians, man.
It's wild,
telling
yeah.
you,
He said
I'm
it's
so
Iranians,
impressed.
yeah.
It is so commonly known now that the US and Israel funded ISIS, they funded Al-Qaeda, they propped these terrorist groups up in order to have a reason to wage war on the Islamic country. Denying they were put in labor camps and subjected to this. I know they had swimming pools in a lot of them. They were labor camps, detention camps. They weren't meant
Swimming
to
pools.
torture.
So what do you think, that was a vacation place for the Jews to go swim
Wasn't
there?
a vacation place. It was a temporary political solution. Not a good one. A lot of them died from starvation. A lot of them died from sickness, as did German soldiers, as did German civilians. And as a Druze, you should hold this standard to the country you exist in, the same way I hold America.
The Druze are proud members of Israel and proud members of the IDF. And thank God
Then
the Druze
be
are
prepared to
fierce
fall with
warriors
them. Then
who
be
are
prepared
fighting
to
your
fall with them.
jihadist friends to protect humans. A little bit of context. So I got invited to this podcast by Raphael, the real estate guy. Really cool dude. And he told me, listen, man, so I have this Druze guy from Lebanon who's just driving me crazy. He keeps telling me all kind of things about how much he hates Zionism and that Israel and every conspiracy theory you can imagine. Do you mind coming on my show and just having a talk with him? I said, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do that. And boy, I think this was the first podcast ever that I raised my voice because I was just getting so fed up and frustrated and honestly even shocked that I'm talking to a radicalized young American jihadist. And that was the first time that I got to peek into the brain of a young American jihadist like that. See, I've met many jihadists in my life, but most of them were usually older and were living in the Middle East. But someone in America that got radicalized like this and that started to intellectually try to support his views all the way from the Holocaust to Israel, Zionism, Iran, Hezbollah, everything in between. At a certain point, it was just too much. And I was getting very fed up and I just started, I went out. And so anyway, the guy wants to have a round two. So if you think that I should have a round two with him, leave it in the comment. And that's why I'm leaving this video right here. I asked Rafi and he gave me permission. I'm going to share the whole video so you can watch it. It starts getting very interesting after the first 4 or 5 minutes of the introduction. That's when, if you reach there, you're probably not going to be able to stop because it was just a black hole of a mix of wokeness and jihadist ideology. And I don't know what. I'll give him that. He knows how to talk. And he's not stupid. So I'll give him that for sure. But anyway, guys, without further ado, go watch it and let me know what you think.
Today, we have a very interesting episode, a debate between two Druze from different parts of the world. We have one Lebanese American Druze and we have another Israeli Druze. They have different ideas of who's right and wrong in the Middle East, who's to blame in the Middle East. And as Druze, they tend to be very loyal to the lands they live in. So without further ado, we have Karim. Karim, I know you own a business, correct?
That's right. Yep. I got a business.
Okay, you like marketing or something?
A software company, do custom software. I do client acquisition.
And then we have Mansour. Mansour is an Israeli Druze, and he's been an advocate for Israel for quite some time. He's become very popular. He's very well known, especially in the Jewish world. Somebody who's unapologetic about his support for Israel as a non-Jew living as a minority in the Jewish state. So make sure, guys, to check out Mansour on social media. He's on YouTube. You're on Twitter and TikTok. I forget.
Nah, I think, yeah, but I hate that. Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram.
Instagram for sure, yeah. So follow him there. I'll link the link in the description. Without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So Karim DM'd me after a few of my reels. This is how we met. He DM'd me and he started kind of going off about how Zionism is a problem and it is causing violence in the Middle East. And essentially it has to be, he believes, dismantled, as far as I know. If I'm using what you're saying, feel free.
That's right. Yeah.
You feel that it is an evil entity, a bad entity, and it is essentially the elites of the Jewish people or the elites of Israel are using Zionism as a way to throw Jews into the fire of war and to continue conflict and to harm not only Palestinians but to kind of destabilize the region, really to destroy everything. They believe, Karim believes the Zionists really have this immense power to just destroy everything.
Well,
And
that's what they tell us, right?
okay.
That's what they
So
say.
so give me your thoughts on that, Karim. You have the floor is yours, man.
Okay.
What
I'll
why
start
do you
with-
feel that way? What do you know about Zionists?
When you look at Zionism fundamentally from its beginnings, and they rebranded a lot, right? But Zionism fundamentally is an atheistic belief. It's this belief that, you know, there's there's Jews and there's everyone else, and I feel like Zionism kind of plays a mockery of spirituality and religion, and I think Zionists completely lack spirituality. In many ways, they're spiritually inept. And my reason for that is because if you read the Zionist texts, it's really evident right away. From the Talmud to the extremist beliefs, they're no better than ISIS or Islamic extremes. It's just as bad, if not worse. And we could get into Islamic extremes as well. And most of my beliefs come from, because remember, I'm American. I grew up in America, lived in America. Most of my beliefs come from the evidence, the irrefutable evidence, non debatable evidence of Zionist lobbying and the Zionist funding and arming of these extremist groups in the Middle East. Not just Israel, it's not just Zionist, right? It's the US as well, it's the military industrial complexes. They are all working together for this, in my opinion, very evil, very straightforward prophecy of the greater Israel, right? We must found this greater Israel. And it's one of the only religions where its prophecy, it has to be done today, right? There's no belief in Islam that, oh, we must conquer this and build this and then our God comes back, right? Which is a very dangerous belief. You
Mansoor's got some things to say. You get your
get,
spot. I got some things to say.
There's
Okay,
no
you have
belief.
more. Well, real quick, you have a
Yeah,
little. You have more to add, Corey? I'm saying because I didn't want to.
No, you could let Mansour speak. I'd rather parlay than go on a tangent.
Okay,
yeah.
well, for
Well,
real quick, what I just wanted to say is I'm gonna make this very quick because I don't want to be the main speaker here.
Yeah,
Zionism, if you're saying it's atheist, meaning the leaders, the founders of the state of Israel, many of them were either agnostic or atheist. It's the truth to that.
yeah.
But if you're saying that the Talmud has these plans for greater Israel, if Zionism is a secular project and the leaders of Zionism and the current leaders of Zionism are all non-spiritual, non-God believing people, why would they have any sort of interest in greater Israel from a spiritual perspective? The Talmud is a very, very much a spiritual.
Well, that's my point, right? It's not about spirituality. It's about material gain, and it's under the veil of spirituality, right? Why does Israel want the greater Israel? Oh, I know why. Because it controls these ports and these canals, right? If you look at the map of greater Israel, it's for
Mm.
material gain. It's for political leverage. It's not for the coming of the Messiah. It's not for any of that. If correct me if I'm wrong, what they believe is basically bringing on the Messiah is the most important thing, and in doing anything to do so is justified. Is that wrong? Is that correct?
I don't know of such a thing. I don't know of such a thing, and I can tell you that as of now, there are definitely Israelis that want Israel to be have the same borders of what the Torah says is Israel, but is the country actively seeking to expand up until exactly what the Torah says? No, they don't. They're not interested in doing that.
Well, it doesn't really
If
matter, right? It matters about the extremist ideology that's being enacted today against.
Right, but the Muslim world has already expand like it's funny how you're criticizing the Jewish people for wanting to do this when the Islamic extremists are doing it and have been doing it since
Which
its
exam,
inception, since the
which
inception of Islam.
Islamic extremists are
which
you?
Islamics? The entire state of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Libya,
Lib-
Sudan. Basically, almost every Muslim country except from Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. Well, what are you talking about, dude? I mean, I'm sorry to
Lebanon,
jump.
Lebanon
Yes,
is looking to
Lebanon.
conquer.
Lebanon under Hezbollah, supporting Hezbollah, which is a terrorist organization. Do you agree that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization?
What defines a terrorist organization? The
All right,
terror.
I see the answer. If you
What
can't
the
answer,
No, no,
What
no.
defines a
I'm
terrorist
asking
organization?
you, what define Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization
It's
on paper.
not a terrorist
It is not a
organization.
terrorist organization. No, absolutely not.
Are you
Why?
Druze?
Why? Because the US says so? The
No, no.
US,
I'm asking you. I'm asking you right now. Are you Druze?
I'm Druze, yes.
And does your father know that you talk like this?
My father passed away and he fought alongside Hezbollah. When to
He fought
reenact,
alongside Hezbollah. Oh my
yes,
goodness. Well, let me tell you something about Hezbollah, Iran, Hamas, the Houthis. They're all very evil terrorist organizations. What defines them is their action and their call for jihad to radicalize the world. Now, I'm telling you right now, as a Druze, your ancestors will be rolling in their grave. I honestly can't believe what I'm hearing. For thousands of years, the Druze have fought against Islam, who tried to forcefully convert them or kill them, because we're considered as kuffar, me and you. This is Quran, my friend. And the reason they survived is because they stood the ground against the likes of Hezbollah and others. And now you're coming and saying that your father fought alongside Hezbollah and you don't think they're a terrorist organization?
did Hezbollah massacre the Druze in South Lebanon?
He tried several times. You know why
No,
he
they,
stopped? Because they fought him back.
Habibi, I live there. They
Well, I
don't. They
have
never
family
tried.
there. No, you don't live there. You live in the US.
Hezbollah exists because of the Israeli occupation and annexation of my land, my Druze land in South Lebanon. Plain and simple. Okay? And the Islamic Jihad you refer to, right? Let's say ISIS. Let's say what's happening in Syria. Who backs these people? Who funds these
No, no.
people?
Let's, you know what? Let's talk about Syria, because the fact that you're saying this nonsense right now while in Syria, your friendly jihadists are going and live streaming themselves, butchering Christians. They killed 7,000 Christians in 2 days, trying to butcher Druze. You know the reason that they didn't kill our people, the Druze? You know why? Because Israel came and said, don't touch the Druze. And because the Druze in Syria, my family, called Israel, please protect us. Israel is protecting Christians and Druze, our people, from the likes of Hezbollah, which for some reason you're protecting, man.
Hezbollah is fought against what's happening in Syria right now.
Hezbollah helped Assad.
And who's slaughtering Christians and Druze right now? Is it Assad or it's the Assad opposition?
Wait, do you think that Assad was a good guy?
I don't think he's a good guy.
Well, Assad was helping with Iran, with Hezbollah. This is like out there to slaughter everyone in Syria.
And now who is slaughtering people in Syria today?
Now the Syrians, the Muslims.
Are they Syrian? They're not.
The Muslims in Syria that are slaughtering the Syrians are not
These
Syrian.
are ISIS and Al-Qaeda operatives. Ex-ISIS.
And where do you think they got converted to ISIS? In Syria. These are Syrians, jihadists, who are slaughtering other Syrians. And you see, to blame, this is so typical for, I don't know, American college student or useful.
You're going on a tangent. You're going on a tangent.
I'm not tangent.
Tell you something.
To blame Israel, throwing out words like that doesn't change the point. To blame Israel for the faulty of Islam, instead of blaming Islam, is the exact definition of a useful idiot, my friend.
I'm not blaming Islam. The first
You're
thing
protecting Islam.
Islamic extremes are just as bad as the Zionist extremes. It's the first thing.
Well, I can tell you as a fact, as an Israeli, as an Israeli Druze, an Israeli Arab, Israel is the greatest thing that happened to us in Israel. We have equal rights. Yes, I'm living here. Have you been to Israel?
Have you been to Lebanon?
I actually been to Lebanon. Yes. Have you been to Israel?
I've not been to Israel. I don't plan on going.
Okay. Have you been to Lebanon?
I've been to Lebanon many times.
All right. Good. Well, that makes it even worse what you're saying. But anyway, in Israel, Druze can walk as they want, where they want, work in any job they want. I'm telling you as a Druze from Israel.
Sir, I don't care about this. Druze
then what do you care about? You care about Hezbollah? You think they're the good guys?
Druze in Lebanon could walk around, do whatever, have any job they want, and Hezbollah is in charge.
Yeah, and in Syria as well?
This is my point. We're going to get into this right now. Let me have
And it's not true. Druze in Lebanon cannot walk anywhere they want and do whatever they want. That's a lie.
Yes, they can.
All right.
Yes, they can. And let's talk about Syria, HTS militants, El Julani, right? I call him El Julani, and all his fucking terrorist, inbred, murdering, rapist Islamic Jihad. Do you know the where these people came from? If you look at Julani's his history, right?
Born in Syria.
What's his history? Go to
What's
his
his?
Wikipedia. Look at his history. He
Yeah,
looks
tell me
like
what's his
he
history.
looks like the most decorated terrorist on LinkedIn. Okay, he's got years in Al Qaeda. He's got years in
He
ISIS.
is.
He's got years this.
He's a
Yes.
terrorist.
And who funds it? This is where American politics comes in, and this is where I think you guys are a little naive. Okay, do you know the work of Richard Black, Senator Richard Black? He's an American Virginia state senator. You know who
Wait,
he
are
is?
you saying that America is the reason that Jolani is a jihadist? And
Yeah,
that
that's what he's saying.
America and Israel, or the West in the Middle East, is what propped up Jelani. Yes, I believe that.
do you know the core value, the basic values of Islam? Do you know what's the goal, the end goal of Islam that you're so, I don't know what, ignorantly protecting right now, or defending and blaming the West? Do you
Am I
know?
defending? Listen. I don't defend extremes. And
No,
remember,
Islam. Are you defending Islam?
all of Islam is extreme.
No, I'm asking you, are you defending Islam? I didn't say they're all extreme. Are you defending Islam?
Islam
I'm
is a
asking you
great
if you know.
religion. Islam is light years better than Zionism, and I'll tell you that.
Is Islam better than Christianity?
Islam is, I would say, on par with Christianity. Same.
Paul with Christianity.
Yeah.
Do you know that Muhammad married little girls? Do you know that Muhammad beheaded people? What do you? This is in the
You
Quran.
sound like a CNN headline, Mansoor. Listen,
That's an insult. CNN.
Muhammad married a little girl. So did every other king of the time. Come on, let's be real. You're talking so far. How many Christian
Did King
kings
David
exist?
marry a little girl? Did Solomon marry a little girl? What are you
Oh,
talking about?
lots of kings. It's very common back then.
What are you
Even in
talking about?
America. Even during when we were getting rid of the Native Americans here, right?
Do you know what Haybar Ya Yahud means?
You're changing the subject, Monster.
No, I'm
Let's
asking
go
you
back.
Islam. This is basically Islam. This is the Quran. Do you know what that means?
What does it mean?
So Haybar was a Jewish city under Islam. Muhammad came and tried to have them support him. They said, no, you're not in the Bible. Then Muhammad came and sieged that town. And when they came and said after a while, okay, we'll surrender if you have mercy on us. You know what they did? In Haybar and several other towns. They gathered all the men. They gathered all the children. Muhammad sat on a chair, all enjoying himself. And they beheaded the men in front of their daughters and wives. And then he went and took one of these Jewish girls and made him his wife. This is Quran. And this is Islam. Now, I'm not saying all Muslims today want to do that, thank God, but ISIS, Daesh, Hezbollah, and all these guys, they want to do that.
If
Nusra,
Hezbollah and ISIS are together, why do they fight against each other?
Sunni and Shia.
How come, I know, but how come ISIS never attacks Israel? How come
It's far away from Israel.
How come Jelani, right? Ex-ISIS, he's basically ISIS. Let's call him ISIS. Let's be fucking real here. He is ISIS. How come he is letting Israel infiltrate, bomb military sites with he doesn't say a word about the Israeli occupation.
You're saying letting. Let me explain to you what that means. He's not letting.
Let me
Israel
finish.
is doing it without asking him. Israel doesn't need Jolani and some bunch of guys.
And if Jelani is a radical Muslim who has no ties to the West, how come?
I'm not defending Jolani. You know that's like the funny part.
Guys, 1 second, just hold on.
Yeah.
Just let Mansoor finish your point, because if you're both yelling over each other, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? Finish what you're saying, Karim.
Yes, I want to talk about Islamic extremism in the Middle East and where it stems from originally. Okay, it stems from the destabilization protocol enacted by the U.S. and Israel from the founding of Israel. It is so commonly known now that the U.S. and Israel funded ISIS, they funded Al Qaeda, they propped these terrorist groups up in order to have a reason to wage war on the Islamic countries. This is a fact. This is a fact. Okay? So when you say...
No, this is not a fact. So this is far from a fact.
You are very naive when it comes to American politics.
I actually studied history.
American politics. American politics.
We're talking about Middle East, not American politics. I'm studying history.
You can't talk about the Middle East.
We're talking about Islam right now. You know where does Islamic extremism start?
No. You are completely avoiding what I'm saying.
All right, fair enough. But you know where Islamic extremism starts?
Where
it started with Islam. Do you know what the Ottoman Empire did?
Does every Muslim believe in this extremism?
Well, no. Every Muslim that believes in the Quran and doesn't condemn act of extremism believes in that. The same thing like every Christian
and
I say
the same thing for the Jewish people. Any Jew who doesn't condemn the extremism of Zionism and the murdering of children 3 miles from your border. You're
Do you even know what
you're
Zionism
talking
means?
about Israel as this, oh, Israel is so good, they care about people. They're
They do.
murdering
I live here.
20,000. You're talking about how
I
Muhammad
live here. They do.
killed people in front of his children or whatever, right?
Killed who?
Today, we're talking today. They're
Killed what?
blowing kids up, arms flying, mothers dead,
Well,
pregnant woman shot. You cannot deny this. You
no,
cannot
let me
deny this.
explain that, because what you're saying is
Yeah.
complete nonsense and not connected to reality.
Yeah.
Israel have the power to eliminate
Mhm.
entire state of Gaza in one day. The only reason that
And
this Gaza
Iran could eliminate Israel in one day. They
no, they
don't.
cannot.
No, they
Yes,
definitely
they
can't.
can.
They
Yes,
definitely
they
can. But
can.
anyway, I was an officer in the army. Trust me when I tell you that they can. Israel.
Iran definitely cannot.
What happened in the ballistic missile attack? The Iron Dome failed.
The, the Iron Dome failed. Well, they killed one Palestinian.
They bombed your airbase. They bombed.
They shot and they killed
we
one
saw
Palestinian. And
blood.
Israel
We
went
saw
and
a
in one
bunch of
day
lands.
eliminate their entire air defense
Believe
system.
that? You believe that? Because listen, when Israel, first of all, how could you believe a word that comes out of the Israeli administration when they are
I live here. What do you mean? They're my friends.
lying?
I'm with them. I'm not listening to all kind of weird things that they're telling college students in the U.S. I live here.
I don't go to
I'm
college.
seeing it. Well, you don't believe what you want. I'm seeing it as an authority. I'm living here as a fact. I work in Israel. I worked in Israel. I grew up in Israel. My best friends are Jews, Christians, Druze, Muslims in Israel, and we're very happy. You know how many Muslims living in Israel are telling me, thank God I live in Israel and not in Lebanon and not in Syria. How many Muslims, forget about Druze right now.
You know why that is? You know why that is? We could get into
Why
that as
that?
well. You know why that is? What
Yeah.
propped up Israeli success in the region?
What prop? Because they worship life and not
No,
death.
no,
They
no.
worship science and
U.S.
innovation.
taxpayer money. U.S. taxpayer money. And
Can you
without the
explain to me
U.S.
why the
taxpayer
Jews?
money, so
Mhm.
you Israelis, you parasitical Israeli fucks, okay?
There you go.
Not you guys. I'm talking
No,
Zionist.
not us. Not us. Not us,
Ben
Mansoor. Don't
Gvir,
take that.
Netanyahu, these fucks, okay? I'm American Lebanese. Not only do I get fucked over as an American, I'm getting fucked over as a Lebanese, where my tax money goes straight to bombing my land. So, and Americans get nothing out of it. The Zionist lobbying in the Middle Eastern wars, from Iraq to Libya to Afghanistan to Yemen to Syria, you know how much it costed the US to enact this violence, this new, and by the way, Jews like to cry about the Holocaust. The new Holocaust already happened in the Middle East. They
In
killed
Syria.
5 million Arabs over 20 years. So Israel is propped up on blood and American taxpayer money. Who in the fuck is going to support this country, especially as a Druze? Everything you mentioned,
You know,
Muslims love Israel, Jews love Israel. It's all running on cold blood. It's
you
running
know
on
that
blood.
as an American,
And
I'm being very
thievery
honest with you,
and porn
Karim, I'm
and
being very
hedonism.
honest. As a young American, I will be very careful with the things that you're saying. Because Hezbollah,
No. As an American, I could say whatever I want.
no, good for you, good for
That's
you.
the
But I'll be
point.
very careful because I'm telling you what, you're showing clear support to a terrorist organization that has been declared by America. And for the reason why, because they bombed and killed Americans. Hezbollah have attacked and made the biggest terrorist attack on America.
Oh my God. And where
Pearl
did they
Harbor
attack?
in 9/11.
And where did
And
they
you're coming and
attack?
saying that they're the good guys
And where did they attack? Where did they attack?
in
In
Lebanon.
Lebanon.
Oh,
Not
that's
in
a good reason to
America.
kill Americans. American soldiers
In
die in
Lebanon.
Lebanon because Hezbollah kidnapped that country sponsored by Iran.
America is occupying
Lebanon.
America's so good for regime change. All right, I'm a Lebanese. Let me look at the regime change of America. Let's look at the history of regime change for America. How well did that work out for Libya? How well did that
Well,
work
let's
out
look
for
at the
Iraq?
fact that the planet Earth is not being run by Nazi Germany, thanks to America, not being run by Russia or China.
Thanks to the Soviets, not America.
What?
Thanks to the Soviets,
No,
not
thanks to
America.
America. Otherwise, it'll be running
Thanks
by.
to Russia. Russia came in and killed them. It wasn't America. America was a big factor in it, right? And it was a mistake. And a lot of American generals say that. They
It
say
was a mistake to attack
we
Nazi
should have
Germany.
fought against the communists. Because look at
It
America
was a
today.
mistake for America to fight Nazi Germany.
At the time, yes.
Do you think that Hitler was a good guy?
No, I didn't say that. He's an
Thank God.
extremist, just like, everyone
Thank
else.
God America went and fought them. And by the way, the reason the Russians fought is because they were human fodder and because they had snow. not because they were stronger.
No,
Germany
because
was waging
because
war
they're on the
against
border.
planet Earth.
They're on
And
the
they were
border.
winning.
It's not
And the
because of
only
that.
one that was kicking German Nazi ass was America.
No, you're so wrong.
Mm.
Anyway, that's off topic. That's off topic.
So the
Actually,
topic.
so back to Hezbollah. Back to
No,
Hezbollah. 'Cause
back.
I'm just
Let's
baffled.
back to the
Hold
U.S.
on. Go. Whoa. We're not doing.
US
We're not
network.
doing this because then we're never gonna get anywhere. Okay.
You know what? Sorry for cutting Raphael. Back to Zionism, because
What's
I
up?
think that Karim, he probably have good intentions, but he just doesn't understand what Zionism. Mitzion Titzeh Torah. Zionism is a Hebrew word for Israel. When you say Zionist, it just means Israeli. It doesn't mean
Zionism.
elders of Zion and all kind of blood labels that you're believing or reading in the dark web or Twitter. Zionism literally means being in Israel. I'm telling you that because I live in Israel. I grew up. We never knew that it was an issue in the US or anywhere around the world, the word Zionism. That's just literally a Hebrew word for Tzion. Yehuda, Shomron, Tzion, Yerushalayim. It's just different
It's not
names
a word. It's a
from the
political
Bible.
movement. It's a
No,
political
Zion.
movement.
No. Actually,
Zion is a word.
it's
Zion is a word.
fundamental in the Torah.
Okay, democratic
it
is
is-
a word. It's also a political movement,
No,
right?
but Tzion is a word
the
that
fact
was there before the Druze or the Muslims were existed. Tzion is a Hebrew
Zion.
word.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
I don't
Zion,
care about the history
Jerusalem.
of the word. I don't care about the history of the word.
It's
I care
very
about
important, actually.
the reality of the movement that the word represents. Okay, why the fuck does the word matter or its history of the word? I don't give a fuck.
It matters a
Well,
lot.
you're using
It matters
it.
very much.
The
It matters because
matter when you
the
use them.
reality of what the movement
You should try that.
creates. The reality of what the movement creates. Zionism
What
today.
the movement creates. So the Jewish state, in its very short life as the modern Jewish state, have brought more Nobel Prize, more innovation to technology.
So did
high-tech
Nazi Germany.
medicine.
So did Nazi Germany. So did
No,
Nazi Germany.
actually Israel brought more.
Nazi
Now,
Germany.
further,
Now, and I think you're going to suffer the same fate as Nazi Germany, and we could get into that. Nazi Germany progressed technology, innovation, and Nobel science, psychology. They were the leaders of the world. So that's not a compass to morality. As a matter of fact, Israel is morally bankrupt for years. From its foundation, it's been morally bankrupt.
what about Lebanon and Syria? Are they morally bankrupt?
Lebanon is a country where people like to, farm, eat their food, go party in Beirut, and that's it. Hezbollah is separate from Lebanon. They
Do
are,
you know the history of the Druze in Lebanon? Do you know what you're talking about?
of course I know the history, but we're talking about today. Today,
The Druze in Lebanon have been oppressed for the last hundreds of years under Muslim oppression. Do you know that that the Druze are considered kuffar? Me and you are considered kuffar in Islam. Do you know why also?
non-believers. Yeah,
The
yeah.
Jews are not, by the way. Do you know why?
Why?
Because the Jews and the Christians are people of the book. So they should be punished by Islam, but they shouldn't be eliminated. The Druze are considered kuffar because we abandoned Islam, because we believe in reincarnation. So we believe that there's going to be a prophet after Muhammad. And that's why, as per Quran basic, the Druze should be executed and killed. And that's why.
Okay,
Do you know why the Druze?
Hold on. Let him
Do you know
finish.
why
Let him
the
finish.
Druze live? Do you know why the Druze live in mountains?
Because we retreated into the mountains. We
By
consolidated.
who?
Islamics.
By Muslims, exactly. Yeah. And that's why the Druze have become farmers and fighters to fight and survive under Muslim genocidal attempt. Now, I'm not saying that every Muslim that you have in your school or your university want to do that. Obviously not.
Shia Muslims do not want to do that.
Who?
Shia Muslims in Lebanon, Hezbollah, if they are what you say they are, how come they didn't turn around and massacre the Druze town I live, my family's from, which is
because the Druze fought back.
1 mile from Hezbollah. They don't
because the Druze fought back.
Hezbollah
and
Hezbollah does not
did not want to open a front with the Druze and with Israel. I'll tell you even more. Look what happened now.
You're conflating Shia Muslims with Sunni jihadist extremists.
No, I'm not conflating. They're both believing the same Quran.
First of all, they're both extremists.
The Druze in Syria are being persecuted by Sunni extremists. Okay.
Do you think that Iran is a good country?
Much better than Israel.
I say that to the Iranians, man.
It's wild, yeah. He said it's Iranians, yeah.
I'm saying it as in terms of who's willing to murder more innocent people at a whim.
By far, Iran and Hezbollah.
Habibi,
what are you living in?
You just carpet bombed 50,000 people. More. I think it's 200.
Let me explain.
The bodies are in the rubble. Have you seen the
Let me explain to you how that works.
Do you have a daughter? Do you have a daughter?
I have a son.
You have kids?
I have a
What
boy.
what goes through your Druze mind when you see an innocent child with his brains blown out, or his legs missing, or his
Mhm.
body mutilated? What goes through your head to think, oh, the country I'm standing for is so righteous?
I tell you exactly. You asked
You
the
know
You
about
question.
the
need
And
to
attack. First of all,
hold
you know
your
about the attack
country
on the
to a
Jewish
higher
you
village?
asked the
standard.
question, and I will gladly answer it.
Okay, answer it.
What goes through my mind whenever I see any child dead is deep sadness, and sometimes even frustration and anger towards the people who caused that. Now, in Palestine, the people who caused that are Hamas, not Israel. And Hamas went, mind you, on October 7th, raided into Israel, slaughtered people alive, live streamed themselves, kidnapped babies,
And what happened in
babies, wait,
2023?
wait, took them to Gaza with the help of the Palestinian people, these innocent civilians that you'll probably call them, took them and then hid them. And then Israel told them, give us back our children, said no. And then Israel went to bring back children. You know what Hamas did? They hid behind these children and these babies and these women, using them as human shields.
I
Hamas have spent billions of dollars from Iran building a metro system bigger than the one in London, not harboring in it a
and I would
single
have done the
Palestinian
same thing.
kid. The kids that you are so gladly using to bash Israel and blaming Israel for the death blame is on Hamas because they didn't hide. So what they do, they hid behind them. So when Israel, I was there. I was in Gaza, not in this war. I've seen how Hamas is hiding behind women and children, shooting an RPG at a tank, and then going and hiding. Why? Because he's hoping that the tank will just turn around and, out of panic, shoot back, and then you're going to have dead children. And then people like you are going to fall for that. The death ratio of Israel and Hamas war is the most humane death ratio ever seen in modern warfare. Wake
And
up and
where
smell
did
the
you get that
ooze.
from? The Knesset?
No, I
How
got
do
that
you,
from every source
Mansoor,
possible out
Habibi,
there.
with
Even
with
the extreme numbers, or even the exaggerated numbers of Hamas, or the actual numbers that we see by doing the math, with both, this death ratio is
Okay,
better than any Western
Mansoor,
country
if you
ever fighting
let me say
terrorism.
uh,
something. Let me say
finish
something.
finish your point, Kareem, because I have something to say. I have a bunch
Yeah.
of things to say. I'm just trying. I know that if I get involved, I'm going to end up talking as the same amount.
Mansoor, if a man comes to your face and he lies to you every Monday morning, and you see him on Wednesday and he lies again, and you see him on Friday and he lies again, what goes through your brain to think anything this guy says is true?
Can you
When
give an example? What are you talking about?
when you look at the lies of the Israeli state, right, from the
Man,
beginning,
bring out a
the
lie.
lies
Which
that
lies
you're
are you
eating
talking
up,
about?
the lies that you're eating up, like I'm about to say now, the hostages,
I'm
right?
speaking facts, man. Which lie?
Netanyahu,
Mhm. Let
Netanyahu
me finish.
doesn't care about the hostages, okay? He sabotaged hostage deals. He wants this war. He funded Hamas, actually was a part of the reason they came into power, okay? So this is my point. This is my point for Israel. I don't think Israel should be destroyed and everyone should be killed and the Palestinians should reign through Israel. No, I don't believe that bullshit. Okay? My point is the right-wing extremist Israelis are just as bad, even more worse, I would say, than Hamas has ever been. And this is my point. When you look at, now it's proven, by the way, that on October 7th, Israel enacted the Hannibal Doctrine. And if you look at the music festival that was attacked, and you look at the parked cars, and they're all blown up. They're all blown up. Hundreds of cars. You're telling me Hamas guys with machine guns and RPGs blew up all these cars?
And Moloch, yeah, they filmed it.
There was Israeli Apache helicopters mowing down everything, right?
That's
They
not true.
enacted the Hannibal Doctrine. Yes, it is
Where are you
true.
bringing it? I'm telling you, that's not true. My
It
friends
is
are these
true.
helicopter Apache pilots. I know them personally. Very good
There,
friends of mine.
there are
Very good
there,
people, by the way.
there are
Amazing
vid-
family.
there
No,
are.
amazing family,
I
men
don't
and
care
women.
about that. I don't care
Well,
about that.
I know
Not
it because
everyone.
I've
It's
seen
not.
it. They
Mansur, let me
didn't. What
talk.
are you
Let me
talking about?
talk.
You're making things
It,
up, man.
I'm not. It's not every Israeli soldier. It's not.
Hamas filmed himself shooting RPGs at cars, filmed himself throwing Molotov bottles, burning people alive in cars, and then you came and you saw these cars. What are you talking about? Where are you bringing this information that you so proudly swallowing and
It's
believing?
very evident. And I don't need to explain it to you.
Well,
Okay.
you better. I live in Israel. I've seen it with
I'm
my own
telling
eyes.
you,
You can
there's
have.
interviews. There's interviews of Israeli soldiers talking about how they got the order to enact the Hannibal Doctrine and killed Israelis along with Hamas members.
Let me explain to you the Hannibal Doctrine. I was an officer in the army, and I know this doctrine
I know what it
very
is.
well.
When soldiers are being kidnapped, it's better off to kill both the
No,
soldiers
it's not better
and
off
the
to kill.
captors.
No, you got it wrong. Let me explain to you. If a soldier is being kidnapped, you must do. I used to train my soldiers to rescue. I was hostage rescue unit. If a soldier is kidnapped by a terrorist like Hezbollah, like Hamas, or I don't know what, you should do everything you can to save him. If last resort you see you can't save him and he's in a car and you feel like the right to shoot at the car, you try to shoot at the car at the risk of maybe hitting the soldier, not to hit the soldier, hoping that you hit the driver of that car that kidnapped that soldier. Why? Because he's considered as dead, or even worse if he goes to Hezbollah or to these other guys. Why? Because they will torture him and kill him later.
Really?
So the whole
hostages that came
idea
out of
is
Gaza were
actually to
tortured?
Let him
save.
finish. Karim,
It's
let him
last
finish.
resort. It's a last resort to save that innocent soldier, which, by the way, can be Druze, can be Muslim, can be Jewish, doesn't matter what, from the hands of evil terrorists like Hezbollah.
Evil terrorists. Evil
Yeah, you
terrorists.
think they're not evil?
They're no more evil than you. No more evil than you.
So you think they're good? I consider myself as a good person. You think Hezbollah are good?
Hezbollah are great. Better than good. What is the civilian casualty rate of Hezbollah in this war? What is the civilian casualty rate of Hezbollah the past 20 years?
Well, that's because Israel dismantled them.
How many? No. How many people have Hezbollah killed in the last 20 years?
I don't know exact numbers.
Not exact numbers, of course not, right? Because it's close to nothing. It's close to nothing. It's close.
In one bombing, they killed 240 Americans. What are you talking about? In one bombing, they killed 240 Americans. I'm just not sure about the exact number.
And in 8 months, Israel killed 50,000 civilians. More.
That's because Israel is a badass and way stronger than these radical jihadists.
Oh my God. Oh my
Israel
God.
dismantled Hezbollah in 2 weeks.
Sir, are you a Druze?
Oh yeah, I'm a very proud Druze, yes.
You're a Druze. So you think the murdering of 20,000 children, little girls, babies, dying in incubators and all this stuff, this is badass? You know how fucking stupid you sound? I'm sorry to be, but seriously.
Did I say that murdering of babies? No, don't put words. Did I say murdering of babies is badass? I
just said
killing
they killed 50,000 civilians.
Yeah, you took Karim. You're using his words. You're using his words to twist it. He never said. I listened to the whole thing.
No. You're ignoring reality. You're ignoring. You know what? Let's start. One second. Sorry. Let me clear up what I said. I'm not twisting your words. Let me clear up what I said. I'm not twisting your words. I said Israel just killed 50,000 innocent lives, souls, and people. Okay.
You think that everyone in Gaza that died was innocent live souls?
The majority.
So you think there was no Hamas people that died there because they were doing
There were obviously Hamas who died. I'm saying the majority.
Let me get this straight. You think
where's the precision striking from Israel? Because all of Gaza's gone. Where's the precision strike? The most funded.
I can explain that.
The most funded, the most armed, the highest intelligence. They have the U.S. up their ass, and they can't operate.
The death ratio when you're fighting terrorists that are hiding in civilian societies like Hezbollah, by the way, and Hamas, when they're hiding by human shield, taking their own civilians, have always been 1 to 10 when America tried, 1 to 15 to 1 to 20 when Britain tried. This is real statistics from battlefield. I actually know people
coming from Israelis,
from America,
coming from Israeli statistics.
In Israel,
well, first of all, Karim, hold on, guys. Let me just add my input. Let me just add my input. First of all. Yes. Karim, you are not going to ever believe an Israeli source, nor will you likely believe any kind of Western source. But you are willing to believe all of the Eastern Islamic sources, meaning Hamas, Hezbollah. If they say it, you'll believe it. Who will you believe? Meaning, if let's say someone in the West, let's say America, Britain, Israel, you definitely won't believe Israel. That's for sure. But if one of these other groups, say the United States, says
the ICC,
Israel conducted a war on a 1-to-1 ratio,
the ICJ,
who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe it?
I'm going to believe the international community.
Okay.
The same one that appointed Iran as a Council for Human Rights.
Yeah, everyone's
Israel dropped as far as I understand, maybe like 22,000 tons of an enormous amount of explosives.
Ridiculous
hold on.
Ridiculous amount. A satanic amount of bombs.
Okay. for that amount to have only killed 50,000 people.
It's ridiculous.
Consider
It's more than that.
no. There could have been so many. Here's the other thing that I'm not going to sit here and get into a conversation about the number of deaths, because Arab on Arab murder, Arab on Arab death in war throughout the last couple of years is miles more, miles
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
Nobody in the
Arabs,
streets are saying a
Arabs
word.
funded and armed by Israel. That's my
So
But
you
the
point.
thing
always
is you're not
defend
taking
the
you're not
Arabs.
taking
That
any
is,
response. Hold on 1 second, Mansour. The thing that annoys me is that America is funding other countries. The funny thing is when America, all countries all over the world are funding other armies for their own benefit. I love how Israel's the only country where if America sends aid to it, we're the worst people in the world, but yet America's
It's not.
sending money
It's
to
not
Ukraine.
just aid.
America, hold on,
It's not
America's
aid.
sending money. America's one of the biggest donors to Gaza as well. Tons of countries are sending
Not
tons of
just
money
aid.
to Gaza. Nobody's saying a word about that. Oh, and for Israel though, it's the worst. All
Yeah,
these
I'll
other,
tell
there's
you.
so many countries.
Should
Hold
I
on,
get into
Iran
that?
got money from the United States.
Of course,
America's giving
of
money to
course,
plenty of other countries.
of
I don't
course.
see you in the street complaining about your tax money going there, because at the end of the day,
The
people
vast
have an
majority is
issue.
going to Israel.
People have an issue with Israel existing for
No,
so many reasons.
I'm
And
telling you now. I
the
don't have an issue with Israel existing. So now you're twisting
but
my.
but you would rather
hold on.
America.
You might, first of all, you might not. I have a feeling though, in reality, you do.
No,
I think the problem here, man, and I said this on many shows. The problem is if the overall Muslim population, I said this to you in DM, if the overall Muslim population, whether they like it or not, comes to terms with the fact that Israel is going to exist whether they like it or not, and they are willing to accept, whether they like it or not, that Israel is, as far as we know, is not going anywhere, then we can have peace. Hold on, let me finish because I know there's a lot you want to say. The reality is much of the Palestinian population does not believe that Israel's going to. They believe that they can continue to fight until they defeat it. There are many other countries that are incentivizing the Palestinians to keep that fight going.
as they
And so
should.
the fight continues going. Hold on, the fight continues going.
They
The
should.
Palestinians do not have an interest in a two
That's what
state,
you said.
in any kind of two states. The Jews also at this point don't. And the truth of the matter is it's not going to bring peace anyway. So it's not a proposal that would even work. Okay. So the Palestinian side is unwilling. There's interviews. There's a guy, Corey Schuster. He's been interviewing Arabs and Jews for the past 15 years on his YouTube channel. It is very clear the overall Palestinian population, majority of them, do not accept any kind of Jewish ruled anything in this
Because you
land.
killed their sons and daughters.
The Arabs have killed us long before Israel existed. Hold on, I want to actually show you an article.
Everyone has killed everyone long before
Okay,
Israel.
so what do you gain from that?
My point
First of all,
is, my point
The
is,
Jews lived in this land over 1,000 years before Islam existed and before Arabs were in the region. The only reason you speak Arabic, Karim, is because the Arabs conquered the Levant. That's the only reason either of you speak Arabic. You're not, you weren't Arabs
for
originally.
fucking
You're
thousands of years.
Arabized. So you're upset that you have a problem with Israel being in the region as a Jewish state, but meanwhile the Arabs conquered. If you look at the Arab majority countries, most of the Middle East is Arab at this point.
Again, I
So why
said
are you so
I
upset
don't have
about
a
Jewish
problem.
conquest?
I don't
You're
have a
so upset about
problem.
Jewish conquest, but you don't you ignore the vast swath of land conquered by Arabs
Let me
who did it by
respond
the
to you.
sword, who
Let me
murdered,
respond to you.
raped, pillaged, all of that for millennia. But
Am
the
I
Jews, who
Muslim?
have a tiny little country that's such a threat to this huge Arab world, who hasn't fucking given barely anything to the world in the last couple of 100 years. So what happens, instead of taking accountability, instead of the Arabs saying, you know what, even though these countries are giving us funding, maybe we shouldn't kill our own people. If right now the United States gave millions of dollars to the leftist Israelis, they're not going to start killing the right wing Israelis. If you give the right wing Israelis millions of dollars and say go take guns, go to the liberal Israeli
Occupy
cities and
Lebanon?
start killing them. No, but the thing is there's
Do
if
you
you're
know that
able to
Israel could
give money, if
if
you're able to
Israel
give
wanted,
millions of
they could
dollars,
occupy Lebanon. They would choose not to. There's a whole difference. Now, let me ask you a question, Kareem. Sorry for cutting in,
there's no
Rafael.
accountability. There's no accountability in the art where it's like, oh, the West just
I'm
fucked
not
us up.
Muslim, and let me reply to you about this Muslim conquest thing, whatever. Okay?
Yeah.
If you wanna tie this into the 1,000-year history and all this stuff, Keep me out of it. My point is, plain and simple.
It's relevant, unfortunately. The thing is if
It's not relevant
because
in my point.
you're only starting.
You have a
Kareem, the
relevant
problem
point,
is
but you're
if you're
talking
going to
from a
start in
different angle.
1948, Kareem, if you're going to start in 1948 and you're not going to acknowledge what caused the need for a Jewish state, then you're ignoring everything. If you want to start from 1948, it's much easier to sit there
What
and point
caused
fingers
the
at the
need
Jews.
for a Jewish state was Jewish supremacy in Eastern Europe. And
No,
that's what rose Hitler to power.
that
That's what rose Hitler to power. Okay, Hitler didn't just hate the Jews for no reason. Let's get real about
that's
that.
why it's wild.
Wow, no, yeah, let's get real. Please
No,
tell
what's
us,
wild is you actually think he hated them for no
tell us
reason.
more.
What's crazy is you actually think he hated them for
Oh,
no
no, no,
reason.
no. Listen, no. I'm
No,
not going to
Raphael,
sit
please
here.
let
Hold
him
on.
talk.
I have
Let
a
him
great
talk.
answer to
He's
this.
giving us pure wisdom from his
I know. It's brilliant.
experience.
Kareem,
What,
the
what,
You
thing,
what
guys are
caused Hitler
Kareem, the
to
very, you
hate the
problem
guys are
is
Jews?
very close-minded because you're not even
I
willing
can
to
hear
think.
I
Fair
can hear
enough.
your nuance,
Believe
but
that.
if
Now
you want to
tell us
play that
why.
game, we should annihilate everybody. And first of all, if you
Raphael, let him
believe,
talk, man. I'm telling you.
I know, let him go, let him finish, let him finish.
Let
Go,
me
go,
talk.
go.
why,
Thank you.
why do you think Hitler killed the Jews? Well, do you think it's justified?
I don't
He's
think
not
it's
saying it's no, he's
justified.
not saying it's justified.
Raphael,
But he's
please
saying they had
let
Don't
the
play
guy
with
maybe it
my
is.
finish.
words. Don't
Maybe it
play
is.
with my words. Again,
Then
and this
please
is why
explain. You said
this
there was
is
there
why
was
I
a reason for
condemn
him to hate them. What was the reason?
this is why I condemn Zionism because it's the same thing. And let me tell you why. Hitler rose
Yeah.
to power after what? The Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, right? This communist party, a lot of them Jewish, these atheistic, these are the founders of Zionism, right? They started in Eastern European Russia, which is what led to Hitler's rise to power. These communists, Bolsheviks, they murdered 60 million Christians. 60 million, door to door, murder, rape, imprison, the whole thing. Hitler and the German people didn't rise to power for no reason. Just fuck Jews. That's not how it went. It's the same Jewish supremacy that's being enacted today through Zionism. And what it led to was the bloodshed and the suffering of innocent Jewish people, which I love and I want to protect. So let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you this straight up.
Mm.
The
Have you
Jewish
been to a concentration camp?
Yeah, the wooden doors and the gas chambers, I've seen them all.
Where?
No, I haven't been to them.
By the way, I've
You should
actually
probably
been to
go
them. I
there
will
and
say,
see before you
Kareem, I
talk.
With
will
an
say
Israeli tour guide?
Huh?
you should go. You should go because I think
Listen,
you're
I'm not denying they were put in labor camps and subjected to this. I know they had swimming pools in a lot of them. They were labor camps, detention camps. They weren't meant
Swimming
for
pools.
torture.
So what do you think that was a vacation place for the Jews to go swim
Wasn't
there?
a
crazy.
vacation place. It was a temporary political solution. Not a good one. A lot of them died from starvation. A lot of them died from sickness, as did German soldiers, as did German civilians. The
No,
world
no.
was
Crazy.
at war.
Died
Okay?
because they were shot in the back of their heads and put to gas chambers.
The Jews like to take World War II and make it all about themselves, when in reality 160 million people were killed.
When they
So
killed half of the population of the Jewish people on planet Earth, 6 million,
I
it's
don't believe
pretty.
that number.
I
I don't
think
believe
you
that
don't
number.
believe that.
No. It doesn't make sense.
So,
Actually,
Raphael,
Doesn't
please let
matter.
me just ask a few questions because I want to know where I'm standing here.
Go ahead, go
So,
ahead.
you don't believe that 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust?
No, and here's why. Could I explain
No,
why?
one second. Let me the next question, and then you can answer all of them. It's only 3 questions.
This is
Do
what
you
most
think?
people. This is what most people who don't like Jews believe, man. It's
No,
always
no,
been
Do
like
you
no.
this.
think?
Not
One
because I
second.
don't
Let me
like
finish the
Jews.
question.
Stop saying that. Stop saying
Do
that.
you think?
I'm a man of truth. I'm a man of
Sure.
investigation, and I'm a man of critical thinking. Okay? So don't
All
say,
right.
oh, this is what most people who hate Jews say.
I would say negotiable, but anyway. So you don't
It's
think that
pretty
6
clear.
million Jews died in the Holocaust? Raphael, let me just finish this, please.
Go ahead, go
And
ahead.
now the next question: do you think that America should send money to Iran and Hezbollah rather than to Israel?
Send money to Iran and no, I don't think America should send money to anyone, especially Israel.
Mhm.
Okay?
But should America send money? Let's say, should America help Hezbollah now regain himself after what Israel?
No. And they should stop funding Israel.
But you think that Hezbollah should regain power in Lebanon,
Not politically.
military-wise?
Militarily, as a deterrence, 100%. I'd rather have Hezbollah there than anyone else.
All right. And do you think
So
Iran?
how do you think these countries operate? How do you think that Hezbollah ever had the opportunity to even attack Israel? I mean, you support Hezbollah. If Iran wasn't funding them, they would have never had any chance at all.
Of course.
Okay, so what you're really saying without saying it, or you are saying it, is you
Let's
just
see if you're right about
oppose
it. Let's see if you're right about that.
Israel gaining any kind of funding, but you're not really opposed to Hezbollah
No,
gaining
no,
any
no.
funding.
I'm opposed to
You're
Israel
opposed to
gaining funding
yeah,
from
okay,
what? This is why I'm opposed to Israel getting funding, okay?
okay.
When you look at the US in 1999 under Clinton, right? We were in an economic surplus, okay? So that means we were making money every year. Today we're in a 2 point something trillion dollar deficit. We're 38 trillion in debt. All because of these Middle Eastern wars that were lobbied
Mhm.
for, and created by who? The Zionist lobby in the U.S., who doesn't have to register as a foreign agent for lobbying under FARA, okay? And they bankrupted our country. They bankrupted our
Wow.
country through war, and they used the U.S. military and the Christian soldiers to murder these Arabs, commit these war crimes, and plunge us $38 trillion into debt.
I think America went to war for many other reasons, including
Not
9/11.
yet. There
It
are
did.
other reasons, but the main
First of
reason
all,
for the toppling of Saddam and the toppling of Gaddafi was
And
through
that's blamed to
Zionist
Israel.
lobby. And you say, oh,
mhm.
Arabs don't give anything to the world, or they haven't provided anything. That's because you bombed them all to smithereens. So you murdered millions of people. You, Israel, are the new Nazis. Hello? And if
Wow.
It's a
it's
crazy take.
no, no, no,
Karim.
listen to this. Listen to this. If it's
Mhm,
actually the human life you care about, if it's human
mhm.
life you care about, why does it matter who or what or how they're killed? If it's people being killed, it's people being killed. And as a Druze, you should hold this standard to the country you exist in, the same way I hold America
The
to this
Druze are
standard.
proud members of Israel and proud members of the IDF. And thank God the
Then
Druze
be
are
prepared to
fierce
fall with
warriors
them. Then
who
be
are
prepared to
fighting your
fall with them.
jihadist friends to protect humans.
Do not,
Karim,
my
I'm
friends are
very
not
sorry to tell
jihadists.
you, Karim, I'm very sorry to tell you, but not only that you're a
No, no, no,
Holocaust
no, 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 no.
denier,
You know what? You know what? I'm tired of letting you talk. I'm tired of
no,
letting you
no,
talk.
no, no,
No,
you're a
no, no, no,
Holocaust
no, no.
denier, you're
Rafi,
a
stop me from
terrorist
talking. Mute him.
supporter,
Let me finish on
Holocaust denier, terrorist supporter. I'm
but
ashamed
because
to call you a
he's just
Druze. You should be
spewing.
ashamed of yourself. You're denying the Holocaust. And as a Druze, that is a shame to all of the Druze. You're supporting terrorism, and that is a shame to any American that was killed by
Okay.
Hezbollah.
Are
You're
you
supporting
done?
Iran,
Are
and
you
that is a
done?
shame to anyone who's being
Are you
oppressed in
done?
Iran, women and
Are
children.
you
You
done?
are a
Mhm,
disgrace
Are you
for the
done?
Druze. I'm embarrassed, and I
mhm.
apologize in the eyes of everyone watching that this guy is calling himself a Druze. I don't know if your father even know what you're talking about. He should be
So
rolling in
you're
his
you're
grave, listening
ignoring
to your nonsense, anti-Semitic, supporting Hitler. Are
anti-Semitic.
you
I'm
lost your
Semitic,
mind?
Habibi. I'm
You're
Semitic.
supporting Hitler. You're denying the Holocaust
I'm
in
not denying the
America.
Holocaust.
You
Crazy.
I'm
are
saying it's
literally
not
the
as it was
definition. I've never
advertised.
met a Druze useful idiot in my life. I've
Oh,
never met.
really?
You're the
Really,
Crazy.
first Druze
Mansoor?
useful idiot, terror
You're
supporter,
the most
Holocaust denier
hypocritical.
I've met in my life.
You're the most hypocritical idiot I've ever met. Because you just said,
Come
"How
to
can you
Israel and
call
see what a
yourself
great
Druze?"
life we have here.
And you're
Better than
supplying, you're,
Lebanon.
you're supporting this bloodshed. And I'm telling you, the
No, I'm
country you live
protecting
in,
bloodshed.
you're protecting bloodshed by killing
Yes,
5
I
million
went to the
people in 20
military to
years.
protect bloodshed from the people like you who supports Hezbollah, who came to kill my people in Israel,
Uh-huh.
including the Druze, from the people who are killing the Druze in Syria, our people. I am protecting them while you're supporting the ones killing them.
Who
Shame on
funds,
you.
oh my God, who funds
Yeah,
and
oh my
arms the
God.
people killing Druze in Syria?
Who?
Who funds them? Give me your answer. Who
Then
funds
Israel
and
came
arms
and just
them?
told them, if you come close to the Druze, we're going to kick your ass. That's what Israel
Who
told these
funds and
people,
arms
that you're
them?
blood
The
labeling on the Jews
Israelis,
that they're funding.
hello, I'm
You've
talking.
never been to Israel. You've
The
never been to
Israelis,
Palestine. You've never been to
Israelis,
Germany to concentration camp. You have no clue what you're
the
talking about.
Israelis, hello, there's the
Mhm.
internet. There's the internet. I don't need to
Oh
go
yeah,
in
that's a
person.
great. Oh yeah, let's go
I
for
don't need to
it.
go in. I can
Twitter. Let
read
me guess. Let
all
me
I
guess. You're
want.
getting your sources from Twitter,
No, I'm
not from
not.
Twitter, from
No, I'm not.
TikTok.
No, I'm not. And okay, you know what? You want to talk about the Holocaust? You think I'm a useful idiot, Mansoor? I'm gonna prove right now that you're the biggest useful idiot, and Netanyahu loves people like you. Here's
Go
why,
ahead.
okay? HTS in Syria murdering Druze and Christians right now, right? Who are they funded by? Okay, what was his
Turkey,
political
by the
his
way.
political career was
They're literally funded by Turkey and by
was prop.
themselves because they took the
Let me
government.
talk, Mansoor. Let me talk. Be
Go
an
ahead.
adult. I see you got some wisdom hairs on you. Let me talk. Okay? He has been propped up, funded, and armed through his tenure in ISIS, through his tenure in Al-Qaeda, by US and Israel. So what does that mean? That means Israel and the US are supportive of this new regime in Syria that's murdering Druze and Christians, okay? Now, when Israel comes and says, "Oh, we're going to protect the Druze and we're the big saviors of the day," when they
And the
caused the
Christians,
issue
by
in
the
the
way.
first place. So, Mansour, what does that mean? That to Israel, the Druze who fight and die for that country are the biggest useful idiots on planet Earth, because you're willing to die for someone who's willing to give money and weapons to the people killing your family. How much of a who's the useful idiot now, Mansour? Seriously, when you consider it, the Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all of these terrorist groups were funded and armed by the West, by Israel, through the Zionist lobby, okay?
So all of them are innocent, and we are the bad guys, Israel and America.
No, the jihadists, along with you, Israeli parasites, are just as guilty. Just as guilty. I'm not a jihadist apologist. I'm not.
Definitely
Am I a
sounds like
jihadist apologist when I'm condemning I condemn
you're a Holocaust denier and you're a jihadist apologist. You're
I'm not a
jihadist
Holocaust
supporter.
denier.
You support
You didn't-
Hezbollah.
You didn't
You
listen to my
support
point.
Hezbollah. They can't be more jihadist than Hezbollah.
It
You
can't
support
be more
Iran.
jihadist
You're
than
not a jihadist
Hezbollah.
apologist. You're a jihadist supporter.
Hezbollah is jihadist.
Shame on you for calling yourself a Druze. I'm literally shocked. You're a jihadist supporter.
You know what's
a
funny
Holocaust
about
denier.
Hezbollah? You know what's funny about Hezbollah? Hezbollah is a terrorist.
That they have no fingers. That's what's funny about Hezbollah.
Go
Go ahead.
Good one. Which killed kids, by the way. Which I hope. So that's very Druze.
Well, maybe a Hezbollah operator should not leave his pager that is waiting to raid Israel in the hand of a kid.
This is funny because you know what blew up during the pager attack?
What?
Red Cross members, cell phone stores, right? Cell phone stores, Red Cross members, other people that do things with pagers. Okay, so it was a civilian. It was a civilian inventory that was rigged with explosives.
No, it was actually the most humane counterterrorism in the face of
but
planet
by
Earth.
definition, by the international law, you cannot use remote explosives unknowing whether or not it's going to harm civilians.
Well, the day that the Mossad will start
That is the definition of terrorism,
about how to wage a warfare against radical terrorists like Hezbollah, we're done. Thank God
let's go to the next point. Let's go to the next point. By the way,
first of all, only Israel has to follow these international laws. Obviously, none of these other.
Again, I hold everyone to the standard. I hold my own country.
Well, they don't follow any of these international laws, so you don't hold them to the standard.
I hold America to the same standard.
You're holding Israel and America. You're not holding Iran and Hezbollah. You're defending them.
Once Hezbollah goes and starts murdering thousands of people,
they do that every day.
Every day.
Yes.
Really? So now you're just lying.
No, I'm not lying. I actually know intelligence sources. They do that every day.
Intelligence sources from your ass. Who are they murdering?
No, from my military service.
Who are they murdering?
Who are they murdering?
Where are the bodies?
Anyone who raised opposition to them. They're murdering Christians.
No. You said they murdered thousands every day.
No, I didn't say thousands every day. I said they're murdering every day.
So
no,
again, everyone watching.
Sure, believe that I said thousands. I would clarify that
Karim, you're trying to get him in a corner. The point is they do. First of all, Hezbollah absolutely.
They do. So now I have two Zionists lying to my face right now.
Oh, absolutely proud Zionists.
Because show me the videos, show me the numbers, show me the. Who are they?
The opposition between Christians, of the opposition they have with Christians, and also
What's funny is Hezbollah defended
Karim. How can I frame it for you? Hezbollah have killed Americans. Killed Americans. Stop pretending that Hezbollah is not a terrorist organization. It's a terrorist organization that killed more Americans than any other terrorist organization.
Yes, they killed occupying Americans.
Does that mean every American base right now in the Middle East? So
if China comes to the U.S. and occupies my state, New Jersey, and I start killing Chinese people, I'm a terrorist? Who's the terrorist?
The brave Marine soldiers, the brave American citizens and soldiers who were in Lebanon were occupying Lebanon?
They were occupying Lebanon, yes.
Oh my God, where do you learn these things?
So Israel didn't occupy Lebanon?
No. Israel
didn't occupy Lebanon in the 80s.
Israel, well, not now. Israel did go to war with Lebanon and held it for several years and then gave it back.
gave it back. They got pushed back by Hezbollah.
No, that's what they tell you. They didn't, man.
That was the.
I'm
that
telling
was
you, Hezbollah
actually,
is not as strong
as a
as you
matter
think.
of fact, Hezbollah didn't exist until Israel annexed Lebanon. So let me tell you this: as a Lebanese, when your representatives come online and they say Lebanon's not a state, oh Lebanon, Smotrich, Lebanon's not a state, Lebanon's a part of Israel. When I see videos of Israelis reading their kids' books about Lebanon is soon to be ours. Those
No,
books.
they don't read that in books in Israel, man.
I
There's a
see.
few
There's
radicals in Israel that say that. Yes, Smotrich is
Yes,
one of them.
okay,
I don't
that's my
support him.
point.
By the way, most
your
Israelis don't
administration,
support
your
Smotrich in what he
administration is
said.
radical. Your administration is radical. Your administration sees me, okay, a Lebanese citizen, as a
No.
goyim. I'm a goyim.
My administration will give you the best life as a Druze. I am a living fact.
No, they
I
wouldn't,
know
because
that.
if I spoke out against your
You're
administration,
talking to a Druze in Israel who's telling you that they're
I'm
the
talking to a
greatest
Druze in
to us.
Israel who sucks Zionist cock. So if I were in Israel, and I spoke against Zionism, I would have the best life? No,
Yeah.
they would prison me and
Yeah.
sodomize me.
100%. 100%.
They
You know
would
how many
imprison
Druze in
me and
Israel,
sodomize me.
including me and my mom, went to demonstrations and demanded and said nasty things about the government, and no one did nothing to us. You
What were
can't
you
do that in
condemning
Lebanon.
about the government?
You'll get killed in Lebanon for speaking against Hezbollah. In Israel, I went to demonstration with my mother and my
What were you
sister
condemning?
in a
What were you
Jewish
condemning?
town, condemning and blaming the government for all kind of things, because that's democracy.
For
Not
what?
Lebanon, not Hezbollah, Israel.
What were you
What are you
condemning them for?
mumbling? Where are you making this nonsense from,
I'm
man?
saying, what were you condemning them from?
What were I condemning?
Yeah, what were you condemning?
The cost of living that went up. Yeah.
Oh,
What's
no,
funny
no.
about that?
So this is my point. If I was in Israel, I would be condemning the Jewish supremacy extremism that's
We
bringing
have
danger,
people like that in Israel. I'm just
that's
not one of them,
bringing-
but we have.
that's bringing danger and hatred
You
towards
have.
Jewish
A
people.
third of Tel Aviv is like that. What a nonsense are you talking? And no one does nothing to them. You're making things up. You're just
Really?
spitting
What happens?
camel
What
poop out of
happens?
your mouth.
What happens to the Orthodox Jews in Israel who get beat up, who get assaulted, harassed for protesting
Orthodox
against
Jews
Zionism?
who gets assaulted?
Orthodox Jews in Israel get assaulted, harassed for protesting against Zionism. What about the raiding of the mosques during religious days? What about the annexation of West?
No. Let's talk about that.
What about the fact What about the murder of innocent
mosque is
Palestinians?
placed over the Temple Mount, and Israel is allowing this. The holiest place for the Jews, and Israel is letting the Muslims have the mosque on top of it.
So then they could go in. So
There
they
is
could go in.
freedom of religion in Israel. This is facts, man.
So they
Start
could
talking
go in.
about
They
history,
could
man.
go in.
You're making things up. You're a Holocaust denier.
assault
You're a
people.
terrorist supporter. Making things up. You think
That's
that Hitler
crazy.
was a good guy and not to blame.
Okay, let me
Literally
say a couple things.
insane
Hold
what
on.
you're talking.
Mansoor,
No.
Mansoor, let me say
build-
a couple of things.
I've
Karim,
never
me
met
make
a
a
Jew
final
so
let me talk
ignorant
because
in my life.
I'm gonna make a
doing a lot.
final
I'm
point
doing a
here.
lot of listening. I'm
I'm
doing a lot of listening.
ashamed that he's
I'm gonna make
Jews
a
like
final
me.
point
Shame
here.
First of all,
on you, man.
Karim,
Wow.
you should
I'm
go.
gonna make a
Karim,
final
you
point
should
here.
you should go. One second. You should go to Auschwitz and you should see it for yourself.
I'm
Will it
not
make
going
any
to
difference?
Auschwitz to see it for myself.
Yeah, because you might learn
You should.
history.
Until
How
then,
about
you should
that?
stop. You should stop talking about it because you don't know what you're talking about.
You guys are still stuck on Auschwitz. I'm talking
we're
about
not.
the 5 million.
You have to be.
I'm
You
talking
have to
right
be
now in Israel. I have a
pretty.
great
Oh
life.
my God! It was
Great life.
100
I'm a
years
Druze
ago.
Arab in Israel. I have a great life.
You don't
Great.
care about human life. You care about the
We
Zionist.
care very much. The Muslims, Iran care about human life.
If you
Hezbollah?
cared about
Oh,
human
God.
life, you would condemn the Israeli lobby and the U.S. military for the indiscriminate bombing and killing of 5 million.
Rafi, that's how it looks like talking to a terrorist supporter. That's exactly how it
You know
looks
what's
like.
crazy is that
terrorist supporter.
what's
Yeah,
crazy is
Hezbollah is a
that
terrorist organization declared
I'm a
by the
terrorist
U.S. You
supporter.
support them. You're a
What's
terrorist supporter. By
it's
definition,
crazy that he
Hezbollah
blames.
is a terrorist organization, and you support them. Terrorist supporter.
Mansoor, it's just crazy that he blames all of the Arabs are practically innocent. They're too what it
in
really
Israel.
is
I never
they're
said
too
that.
nuts. Hold on, they're
You
too
did say
crazy.
that. You said
They're
that
too
several
crazy to
times.
get along. They're too crazy to get along. As soon as there's outside funding, all of a sudden their brains are obliterated, and they just have to kill each other because America give money. I go kill my neighbor. Give
Yeah,
me more
literally.
millions. I go slaughter you. Oh, you
It's
don't have enough
proven.
critical thinking.
It's
If somebody
proven.
gave me $1 million and just said go and
You know what?
slaughter your next door
I'm gonna
neighbor,
send you a video. I'm gonna send you a video, Rafi. I want you to play it on this. Okay? I'm gonna send you a video. This is again Richard Black. Richard Black. This is American politics now. You Israelis are really out in the unknown about this. Richard Black was a war crimes investigator at the Pentagon for 20 years. Okay,
Mhm.
he's a Purple Heart veteran. He's an American patriot, and he's a human. Okay, and I'm going to put emphasis on human. He talks directly about the Western lobbying and funding for Muslim extremists, and we are the ones who prop them up, give them money,
Mhm.
give them weapons, give them orders. Okay, so
Wow. So
so
all
yes,
the blame in the Muslim world is on
So it's
us.
still okay. So it
no,
gives you. Hold
also
on.
the Muslims who accept the money and
Well,
do the killing.
So
It's on
the
no,
them.
but this is
7,000 Christians who got killed in the last 2 days in Syria by Muslims is Israel and America's fault.
As well as the Muslims
yes. That's
who
what
did
he's
it.
saying.
My God, this is insane. This is insane. There's literally a
Of course.
genocide
First of
attempt
all, this
happening
is
right now in Syria by
Rafi, could you
Muslims
help me out here? Could you
trying
help
to
me
kill
out
the
here? I don't
Druze,
think
your
he's really
people,
understanding
our
what I'm
people.
saying.
I'm ashamed to call it ours.
No,
They're trying
but
to kill the Druze, and Israel is defending them. And America and Israel are to blame for the crimes of radical Islam.
Yes.
Wow. I'm
Yes.
just speechless. Never
As
met
well
someone
as well
Jewish.
as the Islamists.
why do you live? But Kareem, why would you want to live in a country like the U.S. if they're doing all this? Like, I know you were born here. I know you have your life here. But
I
like,
was
if you're
fucking born here.
I get it. But but it's interesting. First of all, you're living in a country that clearly conquered and colonized another people.
Yes.
Which I mean, every country pretty much has done that. So that
Yes.
argument is null and void in my head. Okay, because if you want to start talking about America doing it, the Arabs did it, everyone did it. The Jews actually have probably done it almost less than anyone else in history. We're talking about history. You live in a country that's you live in a conquered country, a colonized land. If they're doing all this funding and they're propping up terrorist organizations, they're doing it for largely primarily for their own benefit. I've said this to you in DM. They're not the American leadership is not stupid to the point where the Jews are the Jewish lobby is so much more intellectually inclined than all of these white Anglo-Saxon leaders. And the Jews are saying, "Oh, we're gonna work in tandem. We're gonna give you all this intelligence. The Arabs are bad, Muslims are bad. Send us money to fight these wars." The Americans have a part to play in this. They want to
Also
do
the
it. Hold on,
evangelical
Kareem, wait,
Christians.
Kareem, wait, Kareem, wait,
Evangelical Christians as well.
Kareem, wait, Kareem, wait.
Yeah.
There is so much incentive for the West to do this. They want power, they want land, they want money, they want resources.
Bankruptcy.
The evangelical Christians want to further the goal of the Messiah coming. There's so much to imply
Bankruptcy.
though that to imply that Israel is causing all of the world's problems is exactly what everybody has believed since the beginning of
Did
time.
I say all of the world's problems?
I
You
mean,
gotta
you're pretty
mention
much
that.
insinuating that. You're
No, I'm
insinuating that
not. No, I'm not.
well, you said
You
that
blame the
Israel
Jews for
first.
the Holocaust, man. What nonsense
Well,
are
you
you
blamed.
talking
Okay, you
about?
blame. Listen,
I
I'm not
blame
gonna
the
sit here.
Bolsheviks for the Holocaust.
I'm not gonna sit here and. But those are Jews. If you're calling them, you're
Well,
not
they
gonna.
killed 160 million Christians.
No,
If
the
you're
Jews
not gonna
didn't kill
sit.
160 million people. Stop making numbers, man.
I'm not making numbers up. This
The
is
Jews did not kill 160 million people.
Definitely not.
not all Jewish. Bolsheviks. It was a Jewish leadership.
The Jews did not kill 160 million people, man.
The
Stop
Bolshevik
making
Revolution,
numbers. These are
160
lies.
million people were killed.
Do you have a Mein Kampf book in your room?
Hold on.
Seriously,
Listen.
I won't be surprised if you do.
If you believe that Hitler had a point, then anytime anyone
He's
does
not
a
laughing.
crime
He
in any
probably had
ethnic
it.
group, what I'm saying is like if if a black guy in the United States kills somebody, then I guess a white guy should rise up and just put all the black people in camps. If a
Well,
Latin
no,
guy,
if black people killed 160 million white people in America, yeah, I would say it's pretty normal to expect white people to go and kill a lot of black people.
But you're making up numbers. The Jews never killed 160 million people.
160 million people.
The Bolshevik, I think it's
Do
actually.
you know that there's
60 million. Sorry,
there's less?
I'm actually
There was never
conflating the World War
160
II
million
deaths
Jews.
with the Bolshevik. It's 60
There was
million,
never
not
there was
100.
never more than 15 million Jews on the face of this earth. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah, but
Either-
I'm telling
listen,
you, there was never
all
more
this
than
says-
15 million Jews on the face of the planet. During the biblical time, there was way less because humanity grew. Even if they tried to kill 160 million, let's say all of
They
them,
killed
including the
60
babies,
million.
including everyone, they will run around with
They
axes
did in
and
Russia.
try.
Christians.
They want
murdered.
there's no historical evidence to any
Why don't you look it
nonsense
up?
that you're saying. Seriously
Why don't
now, do you have a Mein Kampf book in your room? I'm just asking seriously.
No,
That's straightforward.
enough of this low IQ bullshit.
No, it's
man.
not a low IQ. It's a very
It's
you're
low
Holocaust
IQ
denier.
bullshit.
You said that you deny
I'm not a
Holocaust.
Holocaust
I'm not
denier.
making
You're
low
mixing my
IQ
words.
claims.
You're
I'm
mixing my words.
actually believing that you do.
You're mixing my words. The Holocaust happened, not
Because of the
as it
Jews.
was
That's what you said.
advertised. Not as it was advertised. And I grew up in the American system. So
And you said that they had swimming pools in their concentration
some
working camps.
camps did have swimming pools, yes.
So they had so they were not there to kill the Jews.
No, I don't think so.
Ooh, that's a Holocaust denier.
I think
That's a
and when it comes to gas chambers and stuff, there's actually a lot of evidence that this was to prevent the spread of diseases. So they were desanitation areas. Now, listen,
gas chambers.
The reason
That's fucking
I
crazy.
say
That's crazy, bro.
It's
The
crazy,
reason
man.
I
You're
say-
talking to
I'm
a
laughing
Jew
'cause
and to
it's
a
so
Druze
fucked
in
up,
Israel,
bro. It's-
and you're telling us that the gas chamber existed not to exterminate the Jews,
are we
but
expressing free thought here?
desalinate.
Are we expressing free thought
Oh,
here?
we could express free thought. I'm not gonna
Okay,
like
now
listen.
let me
but
build
you're-
up on it
I'm just
without
surprised.
Mansour having an
Sorry
aneurysm.
for being surprised by
Let
the
me
level
build
of
on it.
ignorance.
Let me build on it before Mansour has an aneurysm. Okay.
Go.
Okay. So, the Bolshevik Manifesto, 1890 something, late 1800. I think it's actually early 1903. The Bolshevik Manifesto, right? It talks about explicitly controlling the narrative of events through the printing and media. Okay? And they say that this is the way to enact their beliefs and basically further their agenda is through
Are you talking about the Biden administration now? I kind of missed you here. Who's controlling the media?
I'm talking about the Bolshevik Manifesto in the early 1900s.
Okay, so you're blaming
This
the-
was
right.
one of the earliest examples of consciously trying to control printing presses, control media publications in order to further an agenda. Okay? And when you look at what happened after the Nazi Germany fell, after the war with the Bolsheviks and the USSR, okay? What happened after the fact? If you know, I don't know if you know this, the word Holocaust was never actually mentioned in history until 1978. Meaning they went back and redid the narrative on the history and then implemented it into the education system.
Because there was never such a mass murder. That was the first
Now-
time that this happened.
Now, fast forward to today. What's the Mossad slogan? Thou shalt declare war through deception. Right?
It's a verse from the Bible, by the way. But
It's almost the little brother
That's
the Bolshevik Manifesto.
Every espionage slogan, man.
Let me
Of
How
course,
do you think
that's how
espionage
war
works?
is
How do you think
won.
the
That's how
CIA
war
works?
is
They
won.
go knock on the
That's
door.
how-
Hi, I'm CIA. Next to
I'm
Jehovah's
just
Witnesses.
saying.
We
I'm
came
just
to
saying.
assassinate you.
Take these into consideration when you say, "Oh, Muslims are fighting each other. Oh, Sunni Muslims are fighting Shia, and they're killing Druze and Christians, and Israel's coming to save the day." They
which is a fact.
using deception because they're funding and arming the same group that they're fighting against. Weird. Doesn't make
Well, you
sense.
know what's
Hold on.
really funny and weird?
I want you to
Druze-
comment on that. I want you to
You
comment
have
on that.
Druze high in the rank of Israel. You have Druze in the Mossad. You have Druze in the intelligence. So what you're saying that the Jews are deceiving the Druze have key roles in these organizations. My friend is the first Druze fighter pilot in the history of this country.
There was
Grandfather
Jewish.
was the highest ranking Druze officer in Israel. He fought to defend the Israelis. Actually, my grandfather,
proving
the
my
Druze, was in Lebanon
You're proving my
defending
point.
people from people that you support.
Thank God he wasn't slaughtered. Thank God he wasn't
Thank God,
slaughtered.
yeah, they tried several times.
Like
killed many
all
of them
the
in
other
process.
invasions of Lebanon where they got slaughtered. Thank God he wasn't. So I'm happy for that.
Say that again, sorry.
I'm saying, thank God he wasn't slaughtered like all the other attempted invasions of Lebanon from Israel. Okay, like the recent.
Obviously, you don't know history, but okay.
They
What
got
do you?
slaughtered
Okay,
a
so
couple
let
months
me
ago.
ask you. Let me ask you. Let's move because we are going in circles to a large degree.
Yeah.
What do you think, Karim? It's. I mean, it's pretty sad.
No, you guys are labeling me as something.
No,
You know?
you're saying yourself.
You're saying
You
really.
said
You're
you
saying
support
the thing is,
Hezbollah.
man, is
You said
you
support
don't
Iran.
know.
You said that Israelis are scums. Like, man, you're labeling yourself. You said that the
Extremists-
Holocaust didn't happen and it happened. You said that
extremists-
they had swimming pools in concentration. You said that the gas chamber were sanitation to
There's
prevent the
evidence for that.
spread of
It's
Ancient
fucking
history.
nuts.
let me
You're
ask you
blaming
something.
yourself,
Let me
man,
ask
and
you
I
something,
am
Mansoor.
literally just shocked
Mansoor,
that you're a
We're
Druze.
just
Whoa.
watching it, man.
let me ask you as a critical thinker. Let me ask you, if the media is able to manipulate facts and knowledge today, right? If the media is able to do that today with current events, you don't think there's an incentive to manipulate the facts and history and reality of historical events? Use your
I
critical
live.
thinking here.
The only
I
reason,
live.
the only
I'm
reason,
just
I
listen,
saying
the
live
only,
in
anything you
Germany.
read in
I
history,
live
you
in
should have that in
Germany.
mind.
I live in Germany. I have German friends who told me that their grandparents were Nazis and they did this thing and they're ashamed. I seen the Holocaust concentration
And
camps.
your
We have
grandkids will say the same thing about you.
no. I'm living in
no,
Germany. I've seen
that's
these
definitely not the
camps,
case.
and you haven't. And you're telling me that I'm being manipulated by the media. Someone actually seen
You
it
know
while
there was
you watched
Jewish
it on
soldiers. There
TikTok.
was Jewish soldiers in the Nazi Germany army.
What?
A quarter
Unfortunately,
of a million soldiers in Nazi Germany were Jewish. Did you know that?
a quarter
Really?
of a million were Jewish.
Yeah, you could look that up.
Really? During
I
the
don't think that's
Holocaust?
the case.
During the
Fact
Holocaust,
check
or when
that.
they were German citizens?
During the Holocaust, in the SSR, in the SS, German
What are you
SS.
making these things up, man?
Man, look it up. I'm not gonna sit here and spoon feed it to you. Okay,
A
so
Yeah.
quarter of a
again,
million? No, it can't be.
Which
Can't even be.
streamer on
quarter of a
TikTok
million.
told you that, man? Just
Because they
wow.
were Jewish German citizens, the same way you're a Druze Israeli citizen.
Have you noticed that he's blaming everything on the Jews, including the Holocaust? He's
How am I
blaming
blaming it on the
October
Jews?
7 on the Jews. He's
Um,
blaming the massacre of Christians in Syria on the Jews. He's
Not on the
blaming
Jews. I never
everything
said
on
Jews.
the Jews.
You
And
know
now you're
what's
even
funny?
saying
I
that there were
never
Jewish
said Druze.
SS
I said
soldiers.
Israel in the U.S. I never
No,
said
you
Jews.
just said there were Jewish Nazi soldiers, a million of them.
A quarter of
Man,
a million. There were. I'm just saying. There were Jewish soldiers
you're
in
the
the German
textbook
army.
of a jihadist. You're not a useful idiot.
No,
You're a
no.
textbook
You
jihadist,
are.
man.
What you're not understanding is that these points I'm putting out, showing that your idea of the whole historical context is being shattered by basic little facts that are like, wait, how could there be Jewish soldiers in the German army if they just hated Jews and wanted to kill Jews? It wasn't because they hated Jews and wanted to kill Jews. It was a revolt against a political party. It was a regaining of German sovereignty, and it's again, this is very scary. And I'm actually trying to help steer Israelis in the right direction by saying,
Thank God.
you are doomed to repeat the same consequences that happened in Germany in the US.
Wow, man, you're a textbook jihadist kid. It's
I'm actually,
unbelievable.
I know I'm speaking free ideas here, and I
Yeah,
don't want Jewish
jihadist idea.
people to
Yeah, you're
die. I
freely
don't want
speaking textbook
I
jihadist
don't want
indoctrination.
one innocent Israeli or Jewish person to suffer for 1 minute. So how am I a jihadist? How am I
I don't
anti-Semitic?
believe you, man. I don't
You
believe
don't
you. You're
believe
just saying that. Yeah, I
I'm
don't believe
telling that to your eye. Look at my eyes right
Yeah,
now.
well, people lie all the
True.
time. I'm calling you a liar. Yeah, I don't believe
You
you.
grew up in Israel. You were in the Israeli military. So
Like any other Jews
how
in
your brain, hello, if anyone with common sense would think he's maybe a little biased, right?
For what? For fighting terrorists?
And that's my point.
No,
What?
I've rescued,
No,
kidnapped people from the
Mansoor.
hands of terrorists.
So
I've been there. I went and I took down the terrorists and rescued the civilians.
Are the US is the US
What have you done?
Is the US military terrorists?
No,
How?
100% not. The U.S. military is not a terrorist.
What
You think
defines
they are?
terrorism, Mansoor?
You think the U.S. military is a terrorist?
So if I go to a country and I murder and rape, I'm not a terrorist?
Do you
Because
think the U.S. military goes to countries murder and rape as a policy? You think they're terrorists?
that it's happened for 20 years. You're talking
So
about,
you're saying that the U.S. military are terrorists?
by definition, yes.
Wow, man, where'd you find this guy, Rafael? Are you really a Druze? I don't believe it. I don't
It's
believe
crazy, right?
Mansoor.
Karim.
What creates a terrorist? Terrorizing innocent people, correct?
Nah,
Is that
yeah,
not a
okay.
terrorist?
Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
No. Is that not what terrorism is?
But terrorizing can be going to so many ways.
I
What creates
take an
a
assault
terrorist is
rifle right
someone that
now-
goes and kill innocent people to promote any kind of political or religious agenda. Yes.
Terrorist, correct. So when the U.S. goes into Iraq and carpet bombs Baghdad, bombing, and if you watch the bombing campaigns of Baghdad, they were live streamed. You could watch it online. That is textbook definition, massive scale terrorism.
Do you know, it's amazing how we twist everything. Do you know what Saddam Hussein did to the Iraqis and the Iranians, by the way?
Okay, he was also, I'm sure,
He used mustard bombs on them. He melted people alive. And then he threatened to do that. He actually tried to do that to Israel. And then he was stupid enough to say that he's going to build a nuclear bomb, which he tried, by the way, to build a nuclear bomb, and Israel stopped him. And then he was saying he's going to try another one. And then America went. I'm not justifying the war, the Gulf War, by the way. I'm just saying America had several valid.
You know what's pretty crazy? You know what's
pretty
crazy?
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? No. Let me say this last point. Sorry.
It's crazy how the Jews. It's crazy how the Jews are involved in all of this. If you really think about it, what Karim doesn't realize is that the Jews from as early as World War I up until now, the Jews have a part to play in all of this. And so ultimately, we are the sort. If you really look at it from the entire thing, you read everything. We are the problem from the beginning, and he's really insinuating that we have to be dealt with, right?
From the my God, you would like to twist what I say.
But if you think about it, if you really think about it, we're the common
denominator.
The
conflict that led to the Holocaust was, and also the declaration of Israel came from what? The Rothschild bankers. Okay. So remember when I said Zionism?
What's the result? So I guess kill all of us then. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you're saying that. You might not be saying that, but that's what everyone listening to you is. If they listen to what you're saying, they're going to be thinking, okay, well, if the Jews were the heads of the Bolshevik Revolution, then according to you, Hitler had a right to at least expel all of them or kill all of them, which means that now that Israel exists, the Palestinians and all the Arabs should do the same. So essentially, we should be.
That's not what I'm saying.
So what do we do? What do we do with us? What should we do? What should they do with the Jews?
The Jews in Israel, along with the Druze, okay, should prosecute, prosecute and hold accountable the same types of people that led the Jews in Germany.
Let me finish this. Mansour, let me talk after this. So then, okay, so they prosecute them. Bibi goes to jail. Smotrich goes to jail. Ben Gvir. Okay, fine. What kind of new? Does Israel exist after this? They're all prosecuted. Does Israel still exist in this story, or is it dismantled? What happens?
I would love to be able to be in Lebanon and drive to Israel, and Israelis could drive to Lebanon.
Okay.
Both.
And what happened?
Is not possible as long as the occupation and the murder and the displacement of Palestinians is going on, because you're killing.
So what happens? So hold on. 1 second, Mansour.
You're killing Muslims.
One second, Mansour. Hold on. What happens? What happens then? So now we're playing. I'm playing along with you. So now Israel exists in your eyes. You claim you want it to exist. You travel back and forth. You live in Lebanon. You live in Beirut. You travel, fantastic. What happens with this supposed occupation of yours that you claim exists? What happens with the Palestinians? Do they have a state? Is it called Israelstein? What happens? How does this work? What kind of government is it?
Palestine.
Say again.
Israel-Palestine. It's one.
Okay. Right. And so you believe that actually can work? That one country.
It would have to be mitigated by a third party, maybe a Gulf country, maybe Saudi Arabia, maybe the GCC. Okay.
Right. So the Jews are supposed to give up our Jewish leadership after thousands of years. That's what you're saying. So who leads? Who runs the country?
I'm saying a third party mediator, a peacekeeper. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
Turn it into a religious republic, like how the Druze used to exist. Turn it into a religious republic.
I'll tell you why this will never work. I'll tell you why this will never work. This will never work because this is a religious war, Karim. It's a religious war, and the Muslims are never going to accept Jewish rule in the country
because you mutilated them for years. From 1948.
They mutilated us. Look, dude, I have a list. I'm just gonna quickly go through this. You're gonna get tired of how long this is. 622 to 627, ethnic cleansing of Jews in Mecca, Medina. 629, First Alexandria massacre in Egypt. 622 to 634, extermination of the 14 Jewish Arab tribes. 822 to 861, Islamic Empire passes a law requiring Jews to wear a yellow star. 1106, Ali ibn Yusuf Ibn Tashifin of Marrakesh proclaims the death penalty for all local Jews, including his Jewish doctor and military general. 1033, first pogrom of Fez. 1148, Al-Mohadin of Morocco gives Jews the choice between conversion or exile. 1066, mass murder, Granada, Muslim-occupied Spain.
Rafi,
1165,
this is
I have a,
thousands of
here,
years
hold on.
ago. These are
Hold on.
thousands of years ago.
Let me explain.
You
No,
have
no, no.
to
But
follow.
this is why. Hold on 1 second, guys. Let me finish. I'm not done. I have a rant. All of this occurred without a modern state of Israel. It occurred because Muslim and Christians did much of this as well. They did not accept Jews in their countries. They believed that the Jews killed Jesus. They believed that the Jews sinned and the Muslim. This has been religious BS wars from the beginning of time. After thousands of years of Jewish people being blamed all of society's problems, your points that you're making are the same fucking points that every single person has been making. You find every little thing that Jews do wrong, and then what happens is you start, whether there are certain truths or not. Are there a lot of Jews in media? Yes. Are there Jews in porn? Unfortunately, yes. Are there Jews that commit crimes, that do Ponzi schemes? Yes. There are Jews that do bad things. I'm not going to deny it. But if you're going to start to go down the rabbit hole of looking for problem, looking for bad things that Jews do, you're going to find it. You're going to find things. And if you're going to go and say, well,
Well,
this country, hold on. This country was just, oh, Germany was justified for that, actually. The Jews ruined their country totally. Oh, well,
just
Spain
like
as
what's
well. Oh,
happening in
Morocco
America.
as well. Hold on. Egypt as well. Tunisia. All these countries seem to be that the Jews were behind the complete destruction of their country. So
The
it makes
coin
sense.
flipping
Hold on.
scandal in
So it
England.
makes sense. So it makes sense that they just exiled them and murdered all of them. Let me finish. They murdered all of them. And fuck where the Jews go because they're all evil. So fuck what do I care where they
Is
go?
that what I
And
say?
hold on. That's not what you. It's not that you're saying it directly verbatim. It's that you don't realize that you're saying it without saying it. And I don't think you mean to say it. I think you're just hold on 1 second.
I think he does.
I'm not sitting here and saying the Jews are perfect and we do nothing wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But you're not realizing that this is the same rhetoric that every single person who hated Jews from the beginning of time thought. Hold on, I'm not just smearing you an anti-Jew. I'm not doing that. Hold on,
Feels
that's not what
like
I'm
it.
doing. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I know you're trying to make it seem like I'm doing that. What I am doing is helping you realize that your points are not new points. And so what the Jews realize, what the Zionists realize, and I'm a Zionist and Mansour is a Zionist, what they realize, whether they're religious or not, is Jews, even if they're not religious, even the Jews in Germany that had nothing to do with religion, the Nazis didn't care if they were religious or not. They could be the biggest atheists in the world. They killed them because they were Jews. You can be a Jew
What
and be
about
a
the Jews in the
hold on.
Nazi army?
Well, some of them I'm researching it. I have to do more research. There were Jews who were afraid to die. There were some people that were given an ultimatum. If you
Kind of like
capture
the
Jews,
Druze when Israel occupied Palestine.
you're saying,
Right,
oh, it's the same
You're a
Mansoor?
thing.
Right,
factory
Mansoor?
setting of a jihadist
Right,
boy.
Mansoor?
Okay, hold on. We're not gonna hold on. We'll go
Israel
back
is
to that.
not
We'll
a
go back
Nazi
to that.
state,
Hold
and
on,
the
we'll go back
Druze
to
in
that because I
Israel
have
are
too
not
much.
Nazis.
Guys, I have
Kareem.
to finish this
They're as
point. I
close
have
to
to finish this
Nazis as
point.
we get.
Hold on, I have to finish this point.
Shame
I
on
have to
you
finish.
for thinking that the Druze in Israel
Mansoor,
are.
hold on, Mansoor. Let
On
me
top
finish
of
this point
everything,
because
you also called the
I
Druze
have
in
an
Israel
answer to this
Nazis.
too. Yeah, I have an answer to this
Druze in the
too.
IDF. Druze in the
Well,
IDF.
that's all
Hold
of the
on,
Druze in Israel.
hold on. I have an answer to this. I have an answer to
The
this.
only state that actually gives life respectfully for the Druze, by the way, not like Syria and Lebanon, and you call them Nazis. God,
Hold on, I have to
good.
finish this. Hold on, let me finish.
You're a factory
Let me finish.
setting of a jihadist boy, literally. That's how they come
Mansoor,
out
let
of
me
the box.
finish.
They put you in a box, jihadist boy, press a button.
Mansoor,
You're a factory
Press a
setting
button.
of a
Oh, that's
terrorist.
right. Which
You're
other
a
buttons?
factory.
That's right.
You're a
That's good.
factory setting of a terrorist because you're okay as a Druze with the death and destruction of thousands of children a couple miles from your home.
Kareem, if Hamas was able
Can't be
to
so
do,
far from the truth. It's
hold on,
unbelievable.
The Druze
let me
are
finish.
being used as a political toy
Guys,
for the Zionists.
No, they
guys,
actually, for the
please,
first time, have a
guys,
chance to
just
defend themselves properly.
let me
Say that
finish
again?
my point.
For the first time, they have a chance to properly defend themselves and live with dignity.
And
That's what
when
the life. That's the life the Druze have in Israel.
when the Druze were slaughtered in Syria by ISIS, by a Western-backed and armed funded group, what does
By
that
Muslims.
say?
Yeah. You
What does
blame
that
the
say?
Jews for it? You see that you're blaming the Jews for ISIS.
I said the
Kareem,
Western and Israel backed. I did not say
Oh,
Jews.
man.
guys, I have to finish my point because you guys are just you're
Sorry,
not
Raphael. Sorry. Go ahead.
listen. The fact is the Jews created a state. It's not a perfect state. It has its issues. But the problem is, Kareem, is we've said this in DM. You keep going on about how Israel is killing children as if we're if we kill 1,000 people, that's okay. I don't think that you believe that the war that we're fighting is justified altogether. Because I think in reality, you don't really accept that Israel should exist. If
No,
you did,
I think in
if it's not a
reality,
matter, hold on. It's not a matter of how many people die. That doesn't the the way to
what?
tell, hold on. The way to decide if a war is just and
Oh my God.
and moral does not have to do with a number of deaths. You have
Rafi,
to
put on an SS uniform right now and just admit it. Just
No,
admit it.
Kareem, you
it's not
put
a
on an
If
SS
you
it's a
care
uniform.
about humanity, how could
that's a
you say
ridiculous
that?
You're the
concept.
Holocaust denier here. You
Don't
put on an
attack,
SS uniform and stop with
don't
that
invade a
stupid
sovereign
smirk, man.
country.
You just
Don't invade a
you just
sovereign
publicly.
country. Don't invade a
2022 was
sovereign
the
country.
deadliest year in
Hello.
Gaza for children before October 7th.
Oh
If
my
you invade
God.
a sovereign country with the goal of killing as many people as you can, and then you take hostage 250 people, and you refuse to give them back,
And you hide behind
Not
the
true.
children.
Not true. Again, I
what?
wouldn't cut you off if you weren't making bad points because there is extensive evidence of Netanyahu sabotaging hostage deals. Not
No,
only
there
that, he's being indicted for sabotaging hostage deals.
If
So
you are
you
asking
can't play on one side and not play on the other.
you are asking Israel if a terrorist organization is asking Israel to exchange thousands of people who animals that committed attacks killing Israelis, most of them have killed Israelis, and you want Israel to just simply say, yes, we want our hostages back. Here are thousands of people who murdered our people who will likely do it again, and you think that, oh, we should just easily make that decision. You're an idiot.
According to Zionist beliefs, one Israeli life is worth what is it, 300? They say. Who said that?
That's why you
Smotrich?
think the hostage exchange ratio is that
Smotrich?
much?
That's insane. He's
Smotrich
blaming
said
us
that.
for that. You should
So the
He
look at the
fact
said
that
one.
Arabs.
we're
You should
He
giving
look at
said
that. You
one
should look at the
Israeli
Arabs.
is
Hold
worth
on. You should look at the
worth
Arabs and say
347 Palestinians. That's what he said. So it's
we
not me saying that.
we exchanged one Israeli for over we exchanged one Israeli for over 1,000 people, most of
That
them who killed Israelis.
that's
And
what
you're
you
look
believe in.
and you're calling us the bad guys when we exchanged over 1,000 people for one soldier.
That's
We were
solely because you couldn't get rid of Hamas. So
because we're
you
not trying
Israel
to
was forced due to the
Rafael, this
failure
is
in Gaza and the
It's so
failure in
crazy,
South
bro.
Lebanon. They were
So
forced
crazy.
into this position.
The truth is, Mansoor, the truth of the matter is, man, is that millions of people think this way. It is what it is.
No,
Israel's
no.
going to
Let me
exist
yeah,
tell you
eventually.
man.
why. Let's go into the American side, and I got my notebook out. Let's go into the American side. Let's talk about APAC. Let's talk about FARA. Let's talk about the Dimona nuclear plant. Okay, the Israeli Dimona nuclear plant that is unregistered. Right? They stole nuclear material from the U.S. and it's unregistered. Who? And let's talk about the Middle Eastern wars in Iraq. Right? The invasion of Iraq was under what premise? Right? The existence of WMDs. And the actual report of WMDs in Iraq came from where? The Mossad. Okay? So America went bankrupt fighting Israel's wars, and you expect Americans to just be okay with it and sympathize with the Jews? You are making people hate you through what you lobby in our government in the US. Plain and simple. You we spent trillions of dollars while Americans are homeless, while Americans don't have health care, while Israelis have health care. Americans don't have health care. We're number
Your
50
average American
education.
is first of all, your average Israeli is by no means rich. I don't know if you think they are. Most Israeli
Did I
He's
say
so
civilians are in
rich?
defensive.
I
debt.
said
Like,
Like
healthcare.
let him keep
most
spitting his
American,
nonsense.
by the
Hello,
way, that's a
hello,
classic thing.
hello,
Most
hello.
Americans like him, they think Israelis are all like wearing Gucci and like driving fancy cars.
For having healthcare?
Most
Because
Israelis are like, I wish I could
these
come
are
to
what
America
Zionists
and
do.
have a
These are what
normal
Zionists
car
do.
instead of my shit car.
This is what Zionists do. I mentioned healthcare. Did I mention Gucci rich anything? I said
No,
healthcare.
no, but
My point is,
You're acting as if
Rafi,
Americans are all like completely dirt poor, and Israelis are all just rich, like have all this
That's
American
not,
tax
And
money
every
on
that's
their
not what
problem
I
in
shoulders.
America
said.
is because of
That's
the
not what I
Jews.
said.
That's what he said.
You're parroting someone
A
else's
tiny
belief to me.
Israel has built an incredible country
But okay,
because
you know
because
what? You know what, Rafi? Israel built the most disgusting country on earth, and I'll tell you why.
uh
Everything that benefits Israel is either paid for by money or done through political leverage. Okay? No one
most of the
out
things you use on a daily basis wouldn't
no one
exist without Israeli
outside of
technology.
Israel, no one outside of
Right.
Israel, like congressmen in the US
Mhm.
supports Israel without a paycheck or without blackmail. Let's talk about Epstein Island.
Rafael, this guy supports
Let's
his
talk
brother.
about
This
let's
guy
talk about
Dude,
justifies the killing of
I'm not gonna
American
get, I'm not
citizens
gonna
in
get, hold on, hold on,
Iran.
hold on, hold on.
no, let's talk about let's talk about
I'm not gonna talk about the Epstein thing. I don't know enough about it. All I'm gonna
oh,
say,
convenient. How
Oh, you
convenient.
know enough about it?
I know enough about
oh,
it.
no.
Yeah, I do
Just
know
like you
enough
know enough
about it.
about the Holocaust.
I
I
know
know he
enough
doesn't know anything
about it.
about that. But anyway,
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the WMDs in Iraq. What the Mossad report about WMDs in
but here's the thing. But here's the thing. So if you
No, no,
go on
no.
a mission
No,
now,
no. I'm gonna take control
Kareem,
here
if you
for a
go on
little
a
bit.
mission now to prove that the
Answer
Israeli
my
government,
questions, Rafi. Answer my questions.
uh,
How, as an American, how am I supposed to turn around to my Americans if I'm pro-Israel and say we should be pro-Israel when Israel is doing these things with APAC, with not registering under FARA, with taking all this money, okay, with the false reports about
Because
WMDs in
Qatar has
Iraq.
a bigger lobby, because Qatar has an even bigger lobby than APAC.
Qatar is registered as a foreign agent. Israel is not.
How are you supposed to turn out your American fellows and tell them that you support Iran, that you deny the Holocaust?
There's a lot of Americans now who are much more educated on this subject and realize the Arabs are not
That
our
supports
enemy.
Hezbollah, who's a terrorist organization that killed Americans?
Hezbollah is you know who killed Americans? Israel with the USS Liberty. Yeah, you want to talk about killing
So
hundreds?
Israel is more enemy to America than
Let's
Hezbollah.
talk about the USS
Listen,
Liberty.
Rafael, we're
So
talking to
Israel is a terrorist
jihadists here.
I know, I know.
organization.
We're talking
They
to
killed Americans.
jihadists,
They killed
full
Americans.
on, probably once Intifada in the streets, once
Okay,
Sharia
let's
law.
Yeah.
He doesn't even
look at
know
them.
because
Look at
he's
him
Druze that
labeling
Sharia
me.
law is not
Look at
going to be
him
good for
labeling
him.
me
We're
because he
literally
lacks
talking
the
to.
ability of free thought, of critical thinking.
What are you talking? You're talking science fiction. You don't know
What
what's true
happened?
thought.
What
You don't
happened
know
with the
what's critical
USS Liberty?
thinking. Go back to TikTok and
How
learn
come
more
has
about
how
history.
come Hezbollah is a terrorist? How come Hezbollah is a terrorist when they kill Americans, but when Israel kills
Mhm.
Americans, it's totally fine? What about the
Show me when did
American?
Israel drive a suicide bombing into an American
They
embassy?
blew up an American warship and killed 300 American Navy members.
Please elaborate on that.
The USS Liberty?
Yeah, please elaborate. How is
Well,
Israel
that?
this
How
is
is
listen.
that the
This is
same?
a hold on. I don't listen. I don't know if that's the case. Meaning, I've heard this before. I've read about it. If it's true, then we'll have to understand the depths of it. We'll have to understand what really happened.
That is
That's the truth.
true, and that's my point
Okay.
with
Well,
Mansour
hold on.
throwing this label of
We'll
terrorist
have to
around.
understand. The thing is, listen. We'll have to. If that is the case, I would have to know the full background. If it's true, then it is what it is. There's
So
sources that
again,
claim. Hold
Mansour,
on.
man, no,
The fact of the matter
don't
is
defend him,
every don't defend
don't
who.
defend him. I'm talking about how he's so quick to label people as terrorists, but deny evidence of terrorism in any other
No, but
aspect.
Kareem, the fact is Mansour is a Druze living in the country you say is the most evil country in the world, and he has more freedoms in the Middle East than practically any other Arab or non-Jew
Freedoms that
anywhere in
were
the Middle
built
East.
on blood.
Well, let
Freedoms
me
that were
answer your
built on blood.
question.
Hold
Do
on.
you
Freedoms that were built on blood. What freedoms were not built on blood, Kareem? Almost every single, any group of people that lives on a land at this point
Doesn't
has
mean it's
likely
not
conquered it.
wrong. Doesn't mean it's not
Huh?
wrong.
Oh, but that's ridiculous, dude.
Are the Druze, is our freedoms built on blood?
You
no?
never had your own country.
Let me
As
answer
far
this
as I know,
question.
did you have your own country?
No, never.
That's fine.
We were a religious republic.
You weren't constantly being slaughtered. And the reason you
The
weren't
Druze
constantly being
freedom was
slaughtered
definitely built on
to a
blood.
large
What are you
degree,
talking?
huh?
The Druze freedom was definitely built on blood. What are you talking about? 100%. You know why? Because they had to fight the Muslims who came to murder them.
That's a defense. That's defense. It's different.
That's blood.
Israel
and that's how they
also.
got freedom. And the only time they got real freedom is when the Jews came and sided with them, and they both fought to defend the genocidal Muslims, like your friends who came to kill them.
So
Now,
when
regarding the
Hezbollah,
US
when Hezbollah
liberty,
defends, when Hezbollah
Hold on, let me
defends
finish
against genocidal Muslims, it's not doesn't count.
Hezbollah kidnapped a whole Christian nation sponsored by Iran and is holding them in a dictatorship.
Also, why is Lebanon not
terrorist
Christian?
regime.
What? Lebanon used to be mostly Christian. Egypt used to be mostly Christian. What happened?
Yeah, man, he's blaming everything about the Jews.
Lebanon was also very Muslim as well.
But it
So-
used to be primarily Christian, man. It's not the Jew. You're going to blame the Jews also probably for the fact that it's not mostly Christian anymore.
No, that's definitely Iran and Muslims coming in. But
The
Hezbollah,
thing is, Karim,
Hezbollah in
Karim,
Lebanon are Lebanese men.
Listen, Karim. USS Liberty was obviously a tragic and a mistake, and Israel
Okay,
even
so
admitted it was a
yes, but
mistake.
by your
Wait,
definition, Israel's a terrorist.
Let me finish.
hold on, let him finish. Let him finish.
The U.S. Liberty was a terrible mistake, a tragic mistake, and Israel admitted it was a mistake. Israel is the greatest ally of the United States. And that is the greatest ally of Israel. That is a fact. Hezbollah is going every day chanting death to America, death to America. Even in the latest videos, death to America. Iran is chanting death to America.
Yeah.
So the allies you're calling are the allies of the
what-
U.S., are the ones who committed terrorist attacks and said we're going to do it again and again and again.
What
Israel didn't do that again and again and again.
What do you expect? What do you expect them to chant when you just went on a 20-year killing streak?
They've been doing that before, man.
5
Stop
million
making excuse
Muslims.
for
You
jihadists.
killed 5 million Muslims.
You're a disgrace for the Druze, man. Stop making excuses for jihadists.
When 6 million Jews die 100 years ago, no one could talk about it.
6 million Jews. Oh my God.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
he
they
doesn't-
die 100, but when 5 million Arabs die in the last 20 years and dying more today, all
Under Muslims, more. The
It's
biggest
controversial to
victims
talk
of
about it.
Arabs are Arabs.
your
They're killing themselves.
Your hypocrisy is so
No,
evident.
it's called history and facts.
Your hypocrisy.
Karim,
is so
they're
evident.
killing each other, but you're blaming because they're being funded by non-Arab sources. You're
I'm gonna
putting
send
no
you the
blame
video,
on-
Rafi. I'm gonna send you the video.
Listen,
point is if-
Rafi, I'm very sorry. This is like I said, a factory setting for a jihadist.
No, it's not because you're
He is
not
clearly.
even,
let me finish. Let me
and
talk.
sir,
He's clearly.
and sir, you're not even debating what I'm
Karim,
saying
you'll have your turn to
about the
talk.
American politics. Dimona nuclear plant, APAC, WMDs in Iraq, the
Thank
Epstein
God we have a
files.
mononuclear plant. Otherwise, more countries will try
for sure.
to genocide Israel. But anyway, can I talk?
No, let me finish. Let me finish.
Just talk anyway.
I want
Nobody,
you
don't
guys-
ask
I
him.
want you
He's
guys-
not gonna-
No, but I want to finish.
No. I want you guys to chime in on this. I want you to chime in on this. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it sweet. Okay? I want you to chime in on this. How in the hell do you expect Americans to support your country? And by the way, U.S. support for Israel just reached a new all-time low at 46%.
That's okay. Dude, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly
Okay,
fine.
and it's not reflective in the administration, but there's a saying, right, that politics flows down the river from culture, and there's a cultural shift happening in America. Okay, now how do you expect Americans to get behind your country, your agenda, if your country lobbied our government and not registered as a foreign agent, by the way, lobbied our government? Sorry, I'm getting a call. Hang up that. Lobbied our government in order to go into these wars in the Middle East, lose tons of soldiers, American fathers, American sons, American brothers, right? Lose all these soldiers, virtually go bankrupt fighting these wars that you lobbied for and lied about.
America did not lose a single soldier fighting Hamas or Hezbollah.
Talking
for Israel.
Iraq. I'm talking
Israel
Iraq.
fought them.
I'm talking
Iraq, America went for their own
Iraq,
reason. If that was a
Libya,
mistake, that's on them.
Afghanistan.
Don't blame it on
Iraq,
Israel.
Libya, Afghanistan. Stop changing the subject.
No, I'm not changing. Go to
Karim,
Afghanistan. Don't
Karim, the
blame
United
that on
States,
Israel.
Karim, the United
Not
States is doing
talk
it because
about
they
the
want to
current
do it.
events
The
without
United States
talking
had their
about the last
own
20 years.
reasons, good or not, to go to Afghanistan. Don't blame that on Israel, on the Jews, this blood label, cheesy tricks.
Do you want me to show you the videos of Netanyahu lobbying the government?
But the United States wants to do it. The United States knows what's happening. They want to do it.
The
United
American
States wants to do
people,
it.
the American
But he
people do
blames
not.
Israel for it.
No. What I'm saying is
And
the
and a
civilians.
lot of the
Hold
United
on.
States, and this is my point. This is my point.
This
Listen,
is most wars.
say
What do
the
you,
United
Kareem?
States wants to do
You're
it. Well, let me
Kareem.
finish. I said
Most.
I'll keep it sweet. You didn't even let me finish.
Okay.
You didn't even let me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. You're saying the United States wants to do it. You know why they say the United States wants to do it? 97% of APAC candidates get elected. Okay. Thomas Massey, you know Thomas Massey in the US?
Not familiar.
He takes zero money from APAC and he speaks against the Israeli lobby and he talks about this and he says this is fundamentally un-American. We're using all this taxpayer money on wars for Israel. And the reason that that is so bad is because Americans are suffering today. Okay, not me, not a lot of Americans, but the lower class even I'll say middle class as it's getting dissolved right now, are suffering. They can't afford college. They're drowning in credit card debt. All this stuff, it's very reflective of what
And
happened.
it's all because of the Jews.
No, the reason is because of not Jews, not Torah following Jews, not the Jews that live here that don't believe in Israel, Zionist extremists.
By the way,
Occupied
Torah following Jews absolutely believe in all these concepts of Greater Israel. Torah following Jews wouldn't negotiate on hostages the
They
same
don't
way. It would be
believe in
much.
an Israeli state or those
What I'm trying.
Orthodox.
First of all, that's not true. That's not true.
Orthodox Jews?
Most Orthodox Jews do believe in a state. They don't necessarily believe in a secular state. They believe in a religiously run state. But they're not. Most Orthodox Jews are definitely not opposed to Israel's existence. They're just opposed to how it's run. They want it to be more. They want it to be run.
With them.
No. But you side with them. But if they were the ones in power, dude, Smotrich and Ben Gvir are religious. Netanyahu's not.
They're Talmudic. They're Talmudic.
No. The Talmud is intertwined with religious Judaism.
I know what he's talking about, and he's throwing words.
Anyway,
listen.
My point is the reason America supports these wars in the Middle East they are being donated to do so by Israel. They are being donated to do so by Israel.
The only reason why the Palestinians, the only reason why the Palestinians even still are in Gaza is because there's more of a liberal side of the Israeli government doesn't go according to religious Jewish principle would not negotiate with hostages because it's not a fair deal. According to Judaism, if you negotiate for hostages in an unfair deal, then you're not supposed to do it because you're putting potentially more Israeli lives in danger. What they're doing, unfortunately, what happened with the hostages will put more God forbid, as much as I want the hostages back, it's a very scary decision. You don't think about all this, man, because all you're doing is reading. You haven't been to these places. So there's a lot. As much as you're reading, you're also very biased.
You don't think that what you're doing, as opposed to what, like you said, they don't agree with unfair deals because
you don't even have but the thing is, Karim, you never offer one
let me
solution.
Finish. You're saying that it may put more Israelis at danger, so they don't believe in those unfair deals. Do you think what you're doing in Israel today doesn't put more Jewish people in danger?
You know what puts Jewish people in danger?
Dude, the sad reality, and you're a critical thinker.
Bankrupting countries puts Jewish people in danger.
Any other time in history, if there was a nation that invaded your land and took hostages, that nation would have been obliterated.
Okay.
Most Arab countries.
So how do you tell the Palestinians to not fight back if that's what you've been doing as well?
They're welcome to try, but if you keep losing, I understand that, but it's not going very well for them. So if they want to have peace,
it's not going.
It's going much worse for them, Karim. It's going much worse for them.
Israel has fallen. Israel has fallen so far down the list of respectable countries in the global committee in the eyes of their economy, right? Intel pulled out that deal from
the eyes of jihadists like you, yes.
No, in the eyes of literally the whole world except the U.S. and the occupied people who get donations from APAC in America.
You can't even deny that.
Saudi Arabia and the Emirates don't need the money. They're doing just fine. The Gulf states are doing just fine.
They like to play both sides, and they also condemn Israel.
All right.
They're doing just fine.
Raphael, I honestly think it was a good conversation. We're wasting our time. The guy here is a
I
complete
understand.
I'm
denier.
not though. I'm not though. You're refused to acknowledge the points I'm making about the Israeli influence in the U.S. and that's actually
Mhm.
the biggest threat to Israel. Your threat to
Because
Israel.
you're blaming Israel for the Afghanistan war. You're blaming Israel for invading Iraq. You're blaming Israel for everything that America
Well,
did, right or wrong.
Israel with the Iraq. I'm not so sure about
This is
Afghanistan,
exactly what the Nazis did.
but
This is exactly what
I
any
know
anti-Semite
This
in the
is why we
history
have
of
a state. This
mankind
is
did.
exactly why we have a
well, it
state. This
happened
is why
for a
we have a
reason
state.
because this is what Israelis are doing.
Yeah,
They're
then the
lobbying.
Holocaust, as per you, also happened for a reason. I guess October 7th for you happened for a reason.
Of course,
Yes, he
it did.
believes that 100%.
Wait,
To
Rafi, let him
occupy
say that. October 7th happened for a reason?
switch the roles of Israel and the Palestinians. Would you not enact October 7th?
Absolutely not.
What would you do as Jews?
Listen, they came and they raped women. They killed babies. Are you
What would I
nuts?
do is what would I do as Jews?
I'm
It,
saying
it depends
if
what they
you're
want.
Jewish, if you're Jewish and in 1948, backed by Britain,
Rafi, let me
We,
answer.
we
Britain
were
comes
kicked
and
out,
Britain
Kareem. We were
comes.
kicked out,
Rafi,
Kareem.
let
We
me
were kicked
answer
out
this,
of
please. I'm
country
gonna
after
give him the
country.
best answer.
We were kicked
Rafi,
out
let
of
me
country
answer
after
this.
country.
The
Let me answer.
Palestinians,
answer.
are fighting their fight the same way you believe you're fighting your fight.
All right,
Okay?
well, let me
Insanity.
explain that. The Jews went through the Holocaust. The Nazis bashed Jewish babies on the rock with their heads. Show me one Jewish person that went
Yeah,
and
just
grabbed
like how
a
there was
cow.
40 beheaded babies, right?
Yeah, of course you deny that. But anyway, show me one
I deny it
Jewish.
because it's
Let me
false.
talk, Kareem. Show
Just
me
prove
one
it false.
Jewish driver that drove a car in a Christmas market in Germany or went and stabbed children in Germany like your Muslim radical jihadist friends
I don't
did.
agree with those people, and I explicitly
Of
told
course
them.
you don't. Of course you don't. But you're denying the Holocaust and everything. So anyway, my
First
point
of all,
is the Jews choose life over death again and again, and they did that with the extreme death of the Holocaust. The Muslims choose, the Palestinians choose death over life again and again, and they went and they beheaded women, children, babies, burned them alive, killed them, kidnapped babies and
Those were all
elderly.
proven false.
What?
Everything you just said was
no.
proven
First of
false.
all, the babies were never. Israel never claimed the babies. It was an Australian journalist that claimed it.
And Biden came up and said it too.
We don't need,
The
we don't need
American-
to
Okay,
hold.
so
Okay, so they
misunderstanding.
didn't burn
But
40
Congratulations.
you know
So
what's funny?
so
The
they didn't
Israeli
behead
media
40 babies.
published.
So they didn't behead 40 babies, and but you're gonna deny. You're gonna act as if they didn't do fucking horrible things.
Well,
Hamas
here's the
tried.
thing. Here's the thing with
Hamas
Israel.
tried to slaughter everybody.
See
They
how it's
couldn't do it.
unfolding. He
Rafi,
started
here's the thing
moderate
with
and now
Israel.
he's
Are you
full on
not?
supporting
Are you
October
yes or
7th.
no?
This
As an
is
Israeli,
insane.
as
Yeah.
an Israeli, Rafi, are you yes or no? Are you obligated to be in the military at 18?
Yes.
Yes, right. As an Israeli.
You know, the very small minority of the soldiers serve in combat roles. You know that, right?
Yeah, they're on reserve and this and that, right?
No, but just maybe 10% of them.
Okay,
Most
but
of them
I'm
are.
saying, okay, here's my point though.
Okay.
So by definition, you have these Israeli reservists, militaries,
Mm-hmm.
living normal lives doing this. How is it that you're not using human shields?
How do you figure that?
If you're let's say you live in Israel or Mansour lives in
Okay.
Israel, right? He's
Okay.
on the reserve for the military, okay?
Okay.
And he has a shawarma shop with his family and this and that. But he's
Okay.
on reserve for the military and he could be called and he's a military combatant, right?
Okay.
How are
Let me
you
answer, Mansour. Let me answer because I have an answer ready to go. Go
by
ahead.
the same logic of the Palestinians? Take the same scenario. There's a Palestinian, right?
Can I ask? Hold on,
How
hold
are
on.
you not using human shields?
Answer that,
Human
Rafi.
shields because I'm a reservist and I'm living with my family in a house. What do you mean?
I'm saying you argue that Palestinians use human shields because their military infrastructure is intertwined in their civilian infrastructure.
Because if you're building a tunnel for the Hamas terrorists and the people have to live above ground while the terrorists, specifically the civilians, don't get to hide in the tunnels when the bombs fall. They have to stay up above ground. The terrorists, the mujahideen, the special holy ones, the prized people, they get to seek shelter under the tunnels like pussies. But their people have to be above ground. In Israel, the soldiers go out and fight. They build shelters. Every property, every building has a bomb shelter so the civilians can hide in the shelter like a normal fucking country who's constantly at war with them.
And who
If the
funded
Iron Dome,
for
if the Iron
these
Dome didn't
luxury
exist, if the
these
Iron
luxury
Dome
See how
didn't
he's
exist,
ignoring every logical answer? You give him logic. It's useless.
No,
You
I'm
give him
saying I'm
logical
serious.
answer.
I'm serious. From
yeah, hold on,
from
hold
the
on, hold on, hold on.
Palestinian
By the way,
perspective.
Mansour, I'm not going to change his mind. I know there are some points that I make that are very
We can't,
logical.
man. We can't.
It's that, hold on. the thing is he's bringing points to show, okay, the Israeli government is sleazy. They go behind everyone's backs. They do everything for their own agenda. They're destroying America so they can exist and harm other countries. The point of the matter is he's bringing all these points to say that Israel has no intention of doing any kind of good. All they
Which
want
is
to do is
true.
kind of destroy.
It's true.
Okay, that's all the way you're implying. So in that case, that leaves us as the bad ones, and that means that all of these other countries have every incentive to harm us and destroy us. Pretty much
That's
what he's
not what
saying.
I say.
But so what else
What
are you
I'm
saying then?
advocating for, what I'm advocating for is Israelis, especially Druze Israelis, Mansour,
Hmm.
you need to stray the Israeli culture away from extremism. Okay? You need
The
to
only the
stop the political games. You need to stop the child sex trafficking on Epstein Island for blackmail. Okay?
mm.
How am I supposed to respect your country, respect your leadership when they lie, cheat, steal money, steal nuclear material,
What
and
All of
country
child
these
doesn't?
sex
things.
What
traffic
country is it?
children
What
for
country
political
doesn't
leverage?
do things for their own benefit? But the thing is everything you're blaming Israel for, every other country, for the most part,
I
unless there's
don't care what other
Switzerland.
countries do. I'm
No, no, no.
American.
But it matters. Hold on, it matters because you're solely blaming one country, not acknowledging that the Arab leaders, every Arab leader, is terribly corrupt, terribly corrupt. This non-Jewish guy had a better upbringing, most likely, he'll admit it, than pretty much definitely the Druze and not in non-Israeli Druze. He definitely, I'm sure his income is higher, his quality of life is higher. These evil Zionists, these evil Zionists, they hate the goyim, as you say. Oh, they're so evil. He looks like he had a pretty good life to me. I don't know. He doesn't look so fucked to me. He looks pretty good. He
Ask the Palestinians
the
and the
non Yeah, and
ask the
the
Iraqis.
Israeli Arabs and the Israeli Arabs and the Christians and the Samaritans and the Circassians and all of these other minorities, if they don't stab people in the throat, they live better than the other Arab countries as well.
Guys,
Their
let me show
income.
you something from my house in Israel. I'm just in a visit now in Israel. See, this is my mom's house.
Nice.
Israeli flag, Druze flag. Look how big the
Same.
Druze flag. Look how big. Now this is a Jewish street. Everybody love it here in Israel. And we're proud to show our Druze flag in Israel. You can't do that in Muslim countries. Stop with the nonsense. Stop
We
lying.
do
You
it
have
in
no
Lebanon.
clue what you're talking about, man.
You know what's funny? In
Seriously.
2006, Israel bombed our Bayada in South Lebanon.
They weren't doing it to harm the Jews, that's for sure. They weren't.
You sure about that? Because it sound to me, what made sense was they were gonna bomb it and then say,
Israel is
"Oh,
literally ready to go to war to defend the Jews in Syria right now, while the
they're
Muslims are
yeah,
murdering and killing Christians, and you
defend
blame
the
Israel rather than blame them. And just
defend the
There's a
stop,
Druze.
cognitive
stop with
dissonance,
the
but the
nonsense.
thing is,
Defend the Druze from the Muslims they're arming and funding for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, believe these lies.
It's
Anyway,
all it's
listen, this is
all for
long
land.
yeah,
It's
time.
all
okay,
for
yeah,
land.
guys,
It's
we're
We
all
can
we're
for land.
wrap
gonna
it
guys,
up. I'm
yeah.
done listening to this
Listen, the
jihadist.
truth is, debate, guys, oftentimes you're very rarely going to get the opposing parties to agree. I think we knew
And
that
we
going
did. We
into it.
did. We did.
Hold
Just
on.
I
I think
really
we, no,
want
no,
to.
no, I think we know that going into it. Kareem, the truth of the matter is, man, I don't think I have, some people I think are horrible people. I think in your case, you have points. But I think the problem with your points is you don't acknowledge the fucked up shit that happens in the Middle East, and instead you hold Arabs as these like
Well,
poor.
give me
No,
examples of
hold on,
fucked
hold
up
on, hold
shit
on,
in the
hold on. Let
Middle
me
East.
finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. These like financially poor, really simple, like good. They're just like good religious people, and they're like minimalists, and they just they ride their donkeys and they farm land, and they're just wonderful people. And the rich Western countries are just like, we're gonna tear them apart and make them fight each other. Urgh.
That's
And they're just
exactly how it
perfect.
is.
There's no. That's what you think. And the problem
No,
is
that's
it's a
proven.
really stupid thinking because when you leave,
I'm gonna send
unfortunately,
you the
when you
video,
leave,
Rafi. I'm sending
when
you the
you
video.
there's so
sorry,
many.
Rafi.
There's the thing
Sorry,
is there's so
Rafi.
many people in the Muslim world. There's so many Arabs that tell the West, if you're too weak and if you don't realize that a large percentage of the Muslim population wants to take as much as they can, Islamize everybody. They want to do this. They admit it. There's so many videos online of imams and sheikhs admitting it. But you don't pay attention to any of that because you're so focused. You've gone so far down the rabbit hole of proving that the West is bad while living in the West, while enjoying the West. The West is so terrible. I don't know why you live in the West, bro. You should live in Lebanon.
No,
You should, I
because
mean, you should
The
be able to
West
live in the US, live in the US
West
if you
is
want to. Go
founded.
ahead.
The West is founded on resistance to the government. Okay,
The
we
US
were
wouldn't exist.
founded. We
It's
were
yes,
founded on this idea that it's ruled by the people for the people, not by the
after it
Israeli lobby,
conquered, yes,
not by the Israeli
after it
lobby.
massacred, after the US is a completely colonial project that killed the
Exactly.
locals. Now,
Exactly.
yes, after the two opposing sides fought in the Civil War, yes, but beforehand it was a bunch of people from Europe who came to a land that wasn't theirs. The same way that that Israel, according to all three religions very clearly state that it's the only land. The reason why also Israel is such a confusing conflict is because it's the only piece of land in the entire world that the three major religions agree was inherited by one group of people. No other country in the world has that. And the thing is everybody on one hand knows this, but wants to contest that, oh, the Jews believe this nonsense about how God gave them the land. But it says it in scripture. And the Middle East is a very deeply religious place. The
Mhm.
only difference.
Rafi, I'm very sorry. It's just getting late here. It's 12 o'clock at night here. I
Let me
don't
make
agree
one
with
more
you,
point,
Rafi.
Mansoor.
I don't
One
agree with
second.
you, Rafi, about the fact that he is just being innocent. I think he's not innocent. I think someone who supports Hezbollah, who denies
Go
the
ahead.
Holocaust, who thinks that the Jews. No, no, you listen
Why
now.
would I not
Who
support
says, well,
Hezbollah when they defended my land
great,
from
great.
annexation?
So
Yeah,
someone like that is to me is not a good person. He is a
right.
jihadist, and he's full of shit, and he's a disgrace for the Druze people. He's a Holocaust denier. He hates America, 100%.
Mansoor, you're the
He
biggest
supports the
useful
enemies of
idiot
America
for
who are
Israel
chanting
ever.
death to America, and he's doing that while Muslims and enemies of Israel and America are slaughtering Christians
100%.
in Syria. Oh, he's not a good person.
You
Maybe
don't
you
you
want to
don't you
phrase
don't
it
include the
nicely.
whole
He's not,
picture.
and I don't
You're
have
not
any
including the
respect
whole
for him.
picture.
He's not a useful idiot, even. He's a jihadist. That's what he
Who
is.
is
Shame
propping
on
up
you.
who is
And yalla
propping up
hil'an Allah.
jihadists?
I wasted too much time talking to this
Who is
nonsense
propping up
idiot.
jihadists?
Okay.
Literally,
Propping up
this
jihadists.
armpit hair idiot. I wasted enough time
Okay,
talking to him.
watch this.
Go with your jihadist friends. Go join Hezbollah. Show us the poster of Hitler that you have in your house. Show us the poster of Mein
No, no,
Kampf.
no.
Where's the
Listen to
poster of
this.
Nasrallah?
Listen
You're
to this.
jihadist. That's what you are, man.
Senator
Enemy.
Richard Black. He's a Purple
That's
Heart.
what you are. Enemy of the US.
20
Enemy of the
years
West.
war
Yes.
crimes investigations at
اطلع من هون حمار. هذا حمار.
20
Yalla,
years.
Rafi, I need to go. Sorry for this, guys.
Listen to this.
Enjoy
Okay.
your talk.
Okay.
And yeah, sure. Show us your nonsense videos. What an idiot. Bye, guys. Can I leave the call or do you need me to
Yeah,
stay?
but let me just end it. Hold on. 1 second.
All right,
1 second.
please. I'll
I'll
wait for
watch
you
it
to
later,
end.
Karim. Let me just finish this call. All right. So productivity, not so productive. Hopefully people enjoyed this episode. It is what it is. This is how debates
I would
often
like
work.
Mansoor to have a word and speak about the points I made about Israeli lobbying in the U.S., not registering under FARA as a foreign agent, lobbying the U.S. into war in the Middle East, which resulted in the murder of over 5 million Arabs over 20 years, at the same time while bankrupting Americans and lowering the life quality of America. Okay? Not only this, I'd like him to speak about points on Epstein and the espionage tactics of Israel, where they sex traffic children to American politicians and minors and this stuff and use it as political blackmail. Jeffrey Epstein, very devout Israeli, his partner Ghislaine Maxwell, her father Robert Maxwell, is one of the cornerstone Mossad agents in the early days. I'm sure he meddled with the Irgun, which was Israeli terrorist groups back in the day. And Mansoor likes to label people as terrorists, but doesn't hold his own people accountable to the same standard. A terrorist is someone who terrorizes innocent civilians for political or religious reasons. And that is exactly what the US and Israel has been doing for 20 years, okay, especially Israel. So that's my point. They don't like to talk about those points. They like to go back into these look what the Muslims did all these years. They don't like to speak about the funding and arming of Islamic terrorists in the Middle East. They refuse to talk about it. They refuse to even acknowledge it. So these kinds of people who existed in Israel and grew up in the IDF refuse to acknowledge the wrongdoings of Israel and the cost of doing so for Americans, which I think is the biggest threat to Israel. That's my point.
Okay. I hear your
The
point.
fact
I
that
hear
you
your point.
construct words in English and make it like a sentence does not make it true.
What
You're
I
talking
mentioned
so much
is true.
nonsense, and you're blaming
What I
Israel for
mentioned is
everything
true.
this, and you're denying the Holocaust, and it's just like so much nonsense. I can't even listen to it.
Denying the Holocaust.
Anyway,
is not
Rafi, you
what I
want to
deny.
wrap it up, or
Sure.
You like to
I'll wrap it
label
up.
me because it's convenient for your
because you're
debate.
supporting Hezbollah. You said it. What are you talking about? I
Hezbollah has
stand
killed less
100% behind
children.
Israel.
As
Yes, I
I
stand 100%
support
behind
whoever
Israel
kills.
and America. By the
I
way,
support
love
whoever
America.
kills the least amount of children on a
I
day-to-day basis.
love Israel and I
So
love
then,
America,
if
and
that
I
was
think
the
they're
case,
the
you would
good
definitely
guys.
support
You
Israel
think they're
over
the
the Arab
bad
countries.
guys. I think Israel and America are the good guys. You think they're the bad guys, and that's the difference. You support Hezbollah and Iran. I support Israel and America. So yeah, we're different, me and you. You deny the Holocaust. I don't deny the Holocaust. You make excuses for Muslims killing Christians all around the world, right, left, and center.
These
I
Muslims that are
disagree.
funded and
call them
armed by
out.
the West.
You make excuses for Muslim killing Druze, your own people, which I'm
Who
ashamed
funded
to
Al
call you
Qaeda?
Druze.
Who armed Al
I don't.
Qaeda?
Me and you are not the same. You're a
Why don't you
jihadist.
answer
I'm
the
not.
question?
Hell on Allah baghir.
Who funded and armed Al Qaeda?
Okay.
The country you support brings all the death and instability in the Middle East from its
Yeah, that's anti-Semite. I forgot to say that.
anti-Semitic. I'm Semitic.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That's
Ahmad.
semantics.
Ahmad,
Semantics.
I'm Semitic.
Okay,
you
semantics.
hate the Jews, so that
I'm Semitic.
Semitics can be anti-Semitics, you numbskull.
Really?
That's not an
True.
argument.
You hear yourself?
Semitics can be anti-Semitics.
Semitics
Christians can be
anti-Semitic,
anti-Christians.
Okay. That's a stupid
argument.
argument. That's a stupid argument. Okay,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
Semitic
talking to a
too.
kid,
You're
man.
Semitic too, Karim, but you're anti-Jew.
Does your father know you're in the show? Does your mother allow you to come here and talk this nonsense? Anyway, let us finish with this. I'm wasting my
You
time.
refuse to acknowledge what I say. And that's how I know I'm right.
That's your scientific definition.
Let's talk
for
about
right?
the Dimona nuclear plant.
Saying
Let's talk about the
stupid things,
assassination
and
of John F.
someone
Kennedy.
doesn't feel like you want to answer your stupidity. That's your scientific
Stupidity?
definition to being right. Go to university.
Israel not registering under FARA is stupidity. Americans funding and arming Islamic extremism in the Middle East is stupidity.
So everything America did, every wrong thing they did, you blame it on Israel. I got
It
that.
was through the Israel lobby, the most powerful lobby in America.
Rafi, can we please finish? Can you wrap it up?
The facts hurt, right?
No, man, it's late. It's 12 o'clock. I have a life. Not like you. I have responsibility. I have a kid.
Meddling in the U.S.
I have a kid. I have a family. I have responsibility. Try it. It's nice. Try it. It's very nice.
How old is your son?
How old is your son? 5 years old.
5 years old? Is he going to enroll in the military?
If he'll choose to, I'll be very proud of him. If he's not,
is he allowed to not?
What?
Is he forced to at 18 or no?
Well, he's German, so he's not forced to.
Oh, he's not an Israeli citizen.
No, well, he is also Israeli citizen, but if you're not living in Israel, they don't force you.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, that's good.
All right. Anyway, Karim, I have enough nuance. I have enough nuance to hear what you're saying. And I think there's a large part of what you're missing, and it's a shame that you support these people. I understand I get where your brain is. I really do. A lot of people think that way.
I mean, I just think it's crazy to label Hezbollah as a terrorist organization for killing Americans, which
no, because the thing is, Karim, we'll finish. Listen, we'll finish off with this. Hezbollah, like all of these other groups, whether they're funded or not, have a goal of establishing a Muslim Khalif, and at the end of the day, they can use all the reasons of wanting to defend Lebanon, but the truth of the matter is, the ultimate goal they have is to destroy Israel because they believe that God told them to.
And the ultimate goal of Israel is to destroy the Arabs.
No, they're not interested in destroying the Arabs, my friend.
That's what your representatives say. This is what your
no interest. No, it's just not the case.
Listen to Netanyahu.
It's not the case. It's not. I'm sorry. We don't have we don't want to destroy the Arabs. There's hundreds of millions of Arabs. We're busy with our own things. We want to destroy our enemies.
Destroying the Arabs on your border.
No, we're not. That's not true. It's just not true. We don't have a religious doctrine. The difference is we're not interested in proselytizing. The reason why is because all Christians as well, not anymore. Christians are not, they're reformed. Islam hasn't reformed. They want to take over the entire world. This is just what it is. And so I'm not saying that the Muslims are the only, like everyone's so amazing and the Muslims are terrible. It's not what I'm saying. Unfortunately, Islam in and of itself, the religion in and of itself, It's not the only religion that promotes violence. All three religions have violent components. It's the only of the three at this point that still takes what the Quran says at face value. And so these groups still want to
You know
further the
what the
goal of
Quran
taking
says
over. Hold
about
on.
killing children and women?
If groups of people are relentless about taking
Are
over
you
my
believing
land,
the Quran now? You're Druze, man.
Do you know what
it,
the
it,
Quran says about killing women and children?
I know very well what the Quran
it
says, but you know
it's
that
it's
you're not.
very clear.
Druze
It's
don't follow
very
the Quran.
clear.
You're aware of that, right?
Condemned. It's condemned.
You can't listen. The Quran has all of these.
So
The Quran is known.
When Hezbollah bombed Haifa, right, and they leveled all those buildings, and all those
Well,
Israelis got displaced. How come Hezbollah didn't bomb the buildings while they were in it?
how come they didn't bomb the buildings while they were in it?
Yeah, if they could, they leveled all those buildings, but they waited until the Israelis were.
You believe that?
They
I
were.
was
Yeah.
there. That's not true.
They're trying to get in.
It's
They're
not
trying
true.
to invade. They were planning to invade.
Listen, their pathetic
They did
attempts
not kill. They did
unsuccessful
not
does
kill
not
a
make them
single
heroic. It
woman
just
or
makes Israel
child.
good.
They displaced 2 million Israelis. They didn't kill one woman or child.
They displaced 2 million Israelis because
Mhm.
Israel defended their citizens. They didn't manage to kill as many Israelis
Mhm.
they wanted because Israel is very good at defending
If
its
Hezbollah
citizens.
could launch rockets,
Hezbollah's incapability to be
if
as strong as they
Hezbollah
try to
could,
lie to you does
if
not make them
if
justified.
if Hezbollah,
Hezbollah did kill civilians. They've killed a nice amount.
They did, but they didn't as
They've
much as
also
they
killed
wanted.
Druze. They killed the Druze kids in the soccer field.
oh yeah, that's a good one. You want to talk about that one?
Oh, you're saying Hezbollah did not kill the Druze in Majd al-Shams?
No, they did not. If you
I
look,
was there.
if you look at the bombing, right, of that soccer pitch, which it was terrible, and I almost cried when I heard about this. Whether it was
Oh,
his, or whether it
The
was,
Iron Dome shell. Yeah, the Iron Dome. She's gonna say it was the Iron Dome shell. Yeah.
and there was a misfire in the same region months prior. So, and if you look at where the shell hit on the soccer pitch, there's that mark. There's no dent. There's no indentation of the explosion. It was the
actually, there
Patriot
is. What are you talking-
missile.
I was there. There is. There is a dent. There's a big crater in the ground.
I
There's-
saw the image with the bodies. There was no
I
dent.
was there, man. I
I
was there
saw the
physically.
image
Like
with the
many
body.
things that you're talking about, you don't know. I was there, man. I
There
have
and there was a
relatives.
misfire Patriot missile
Our
in the
own
same
Druze
area.
children got killed by Hezbollah, and you're defending Hezbollah,
In the
killing
same
them.
area.
My God, Rafi, why am I talking to this guy?
I know it's crazy.
You're defending Hezbollah after they killed our Druze children.
And
Shame on you, man.
the Druze
I was
children
there. I saw with my own eyes. My family is there.
And
What
the Druze-
nonsense!
and the
are you
Druze killed in
Crazy.
Syria by ISIS. You're defending Israel's financing and arming of ISIS?
ISIS killed the Druze in Syria. You're blaming Israel. Hezbollah kills the Druze in Israel. Children, you're blaming Israel.
No, ISIS
Well,
is
he's
funded and
Rafi.
armed by the
well,
US
he
and Israel.
okay, yeah,
That's
because he thinks
common
ISIS
knowledge.
is Israel.
It's
Yeah.
a waste of time. Sorry, Karim. God bless you. God bless
ISIS
your family.
is funded
I
and
wish you
armed by
only good.
Israel.
And just
It's proven.
Leave
It's
me alone.
proven. You refuse to look at new
It's
ideas.
crazy. It's crazy. Okay, Karim,
Look at the video I
guys,
sent you.
thank you for
Talk
your
to
Hezbollah
time,
killed
guys.
Druze children, man. It's like,
Look
what
at
are
the
you
video.
talking-
Send it to Mansoor. The video.
I don't need to see the video. I was there. I saw the
Okay.
video and I was there.
No,
The
I'm
thing-
talking
the
about
thing
ISIS.
is-
Talking about ISIS.
The thing is,
ISIS killing Muslims.
it's it's
Christians,
what
not
it comes
Israel.
down to. What it comes down to is he's just on a mission to point fingers. It's not that I'm opposed to you finding faults in Jews throughout history. It's more that if you're solely putting blame and you're not putting blame on others.
That's the subject we're talking about. That's why I'm only talking.
No,
You wanna
but the
talk
thing
about-
is you
wanna talk about the crimes of China?
you don't hold the Arab world accountable for shit.
Let's do it for next episode. That'll
the
be
first thing I said on this call, I condemn extremism in Islam.
But you
and I
don't know
condemn
anything about
extremism.
you don't
But you
but you don't
support
go into
extremism.
detail.
You
You
support
don't have
Nazis
detail.
and
You don't have
Hezbollah.
detailed
Amen.
knowledge. The detailed knowledge you have on the Israeli government and Jews in general, the vast information, but you don't have any information on the Arab world. For example, the Bashabazi, the child sex trafficking that goes on in Pakistan, Afghanistan, the religious
Terrible.
rituals with
Terrible.
Huh?
Terrible.
the temporary marriages, the abuse that goes on,
Terrible.
domestic abuse, violent abuse, the rape in
course.
London by Pakistanis.
Of course.
There's so much
Christians
stuff.
as well. Christians as
Yeah,
well.
okay, no, it's
And
easy to
Jews
condemn
as
it, but you
well,
don't mention,
South
but you don't
America.
talk, but you don't talk about it. But you don't talk.
That's
I
me.
bring it up. You talk about it.
Subject.
extremism in the
You
same
want to
breath.
have?
This
You
stuff
want
this
to
stuff
talk
isn't
about other
happening. But in
crimes? We can
Israel,
talk about other.
but this stuff is being done from Muslims to other Muslims in Israel. The Arabs with Israeli citizenship, this stuff isn't happening to them.
And what in the Talmudic beliefs about raping children and all that stuff, as
Yeah,
long as you're
if it
non-Jew.
says any, if it said, listen, all three religions have fucked up components. The
I
difference
agree
is
with you.
whether they're
Except
followed.
except what the Druze, and that's the standard I hold everyone to. And this is what Mansour doesn't understand. Every religion has its fucked up beliefs and
Mhm.
barbaric tendencies, except the Druze. And that's why, for you to stand behind one of the religions committing the same barbarism is such a shame to the Druze people. You have to hold the Druze, you have to hold the state in which you live in to a higher standard as a Druze. That is what we're here for. That's why we exist in the Levant, in the religious cradle of civilization. Okay, every religion has its fucked up shit. Yes, so except the Druze, there's no blood on our name. There's no dirt on our name. Okay? So it's up to us. We don't believe in the coming of a Messiah or we must do this in order for this to happen. We don't believe any of that. We're an esoteric religion. We're a spiritual religion. Okay?
If only you followed your own words.
I am following my own words.
Yeah, well, you say you don't support extremism, but then you go and you support Iran and
Yeah.
Hezbollah, literally the face of
That
extremism.
in
You
in
say you
the
don't
current
support
events of
extremism, you have no
things.
problem with
They
the
don't
Jews, but then you
they
go
don't
and you
allow
do not
freedoms
follow
though. They don't
Trump.
allow
If
freedoms.
I'm guilty of that, then you're just as guilty for supporting Zionism.
The world is not the same side of two coins, man. It's the same coin. It's not as simple as you think it is, man.
Well, I mean, we're here talking about barbaric religions.
Yeah, there is barbarians right now walking in Syria, murdering, killing Druze
Yeah,
included, and they're
yeah.
Muslims. They're not
And they're
Jews. But you blame everything on the
funded and
Jews.
armed by the West.
Yeah, you're
And
making that up. That's
I'm
cute that
not
you make
making
these
that
things
up,
up.
Mansour.
Of
I
course,
am
yeah,
not.
you have proof.
You
You have
don't
the
live in America.
You
You
also
don't
have
live
the
in
Epstein
America.
list in your pocket. Yeah, I got it. I got it.
And the Epstein stuff
Anyway,
as well.
what?
So the Epstein stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are not controversial things I'm saying. These are very well known. The ISIS, Al Qaeda, the Taliban, all funded and armed by the West. All funded and armed by the West.
And the
Okay.
West is to blame for Islam. Yeah, you obviously don't know.
I'm
You don't
not
really
saying also the Islamics committing the actions. Same thing. I'm not picking a side.
Oh, you
I am
are.
not picking a side. I am saying you are guilty. Israel is just as guilty as Islamics are for extremism.
Yeah. Then you
And
said
the
America
West,
is
the
guilty
West
as
shares
well.
guilt in that just as much, if not more. That's my point. So as a Druze in America, I'm holding America to a higher standard, and I'm willing to speak against America.
Higher
But as a
standard for
Druze,
supporting Hezbollah and denying the Holocaust. Sorry, buddy, your
as a
standard is above
Druze and
ground.
Israeli, as a
Your
Druze and
standard
Israeli,
is a jihadist standards and the
as a
ground. You
Druze, as
justified
a
October
Druze and
7th. Stop it
Israeli,
with this nonsense. You can fool
as
others,
a
not
Druze and
me.
Israeli, you're
You support
refusing to
terrorism.
condemn. You're refusing to condemn your own state the same way I
Oh, I
condemn
condemn
my
my
own
state
state.
every day on many, many things. That's what every Israeli citizen do. That's called democracy.
Yeah,
Your standard
welcome.
is a jihadist standard, which is on the bottom of the bottom. You
Jihadist
you
standard. Why are you
you
so emotional
justify
about
October 7. You
Why are you
justify
so
the
emotional
gas
about this?
chambers. I mean, why am I even talking about this? You
Why are you
justify
so emotional
Hezbollah
about
chanting death to America. You justify Iran. You justify, what is
How do
going
you
on
how
with
do
this
you
guy?
expect
And then
Hezbollah?
you come and you
How
say
do you
slogans.
expect
I
Hezbollah
am
to not
against
chant death to
violence. I am
America
against
when you
extremism.
murdered
You
5 million
sound you
Arabs?
sound like every useful
No, I
idiot
don't. No,
student
I
in
don't.
the
By the way,
Yokle University in
Mansour,
Zifigor.
you know what also? It's a shame that like if he lived in Israel, even for a few years, he would understand as
Oh
much as
yeah, he
it's
would have
not
loved it.
perfect.
He would have loved
He
it.
would
If
love
I
as
lived in
much hold on,
Israel,
as
I
much
would
as
be
hold on, I'm
sick
not
to
finished yet.
my stomach
He would no,
every
he
day.
Nah,
seeing
just
the
because you're a jihadist.
community.
Yeah. And if you had lived in Israel peacefully, you
If
would
you
love
saw
it.
day to day just how people actually get along, love each other, the different religions, groups of people are respected. Like in the outside world, when I say these things, the people like they don't get it because as soon as they say that, they go, "Oh, the Arabs in Gaza, Arabs in West Bank." But in Israel proper, day to day, how people live their lives, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, they
I'm
can
sure
take their
Israel is
hijab
great.
off. Huh?
Non-existent in the Middle East. The Druze are among the
I'm
most
sure
loved
Israel
people
is
in Israel.
great. I'm sure Israel is great, but your administration is criminal. And until you acknowledge that, you're never gonna get. You'll never be accepted.
No
Plain and
one here, no one here is justifying Bibi or Smotrich and saying that they
you
are for
are. You're actually carrying guns and fighting for them.
yeah to defend, not for them, not for them, not for them.
No.
I'm fighting to defend innocent women and children that your friends in Hezbollah tried to murder. I don't
Oh
find
my
that
god.
funny. Your jihadist
Mansoor!
friends came to murder Israeli women
Kareem,
and
you're
children.
not Kareem. You
We're
want him to
carrying
listen
guns
to
to
you, but you're
defend
just as
them.
ignorant,
That's
man.
not
Like
funny.
you're not
Maybe you're
opening your
right.
mind to
Maybe you're
anything
right.
he's
I'll
saying.
listen. I'll listen.
It's not funny because we are carrying guns to defend women and children in Israel from your jihadist friends. It's very different. We're not
Not
carrying
my
guns
jihadist
because we're
friends.
defending Bibi.
You are doing the bidding of Bibi.
No, I'm defending
Yeah.
Israel, and I'm proud to do that because
You're
Israel is a
defending
democracy
Israel.
and it's a good country.
It's like the Americans who went to Iraq to defend America, right? And then they come back and they're like,
Probably in your
"Oh,
book, it's like the Americans who went to
If
fight
you,
the Nazi
Kareem,
Germany.
if you hate Israel for what it stands on, America shares most of its values, and
and I'm
America
an
was
American and I advocate for the change of that." That's the whole
Yeah,
point
you
of
would probably
democracy.
want intifada in the streets of
That's
America
the
to
whole
ask everything.
democracy.
if he had if you're the thing is, as much as every country should try to be better, 99% of the way countries are led
Yeah.
in other places, you would be miserable. You'd run as fast as you could out of the country. If you knew the fucked up shit America did in order to get to be where it is today, you sit
I'm
for
aware of
Thanksgiving
that.
dinner, you sit for Thanksgiving dinner, and you have your turkey. If you do it, and you don't even realize all the things that happen.
I'm aware of all of it.
My point is you're gonna sit and point fingers. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. I'm gonna wrap it up with this.
Please. Thank you.
I'm not allergic to criticism. I'm not. I sat here. I didn't fucking lose my shit. I stayed calm. I
Yeah.
listened to you. I did very little talking. I had a lot to say because I want to listen. I want to learn. You can find plenty of things that the Jews did in the early founding of Israel. They killed civilians. They did things they shouldn't have done. There's no question. But where Israel is now in the current time, we did what we did. We have a country. We didn't do things perfectly. We were able to bring an ancient civilization back to its land after all this time. You don't have to agree with it. I don't need your acceptance, your permission. We don't need to be loved by the world. We're likely going to be hated by the world until the
Don't
large percentage,
why do you say it like it was just
because this
like
is what it costs.
It was just
Kareem,
Jewish
what you
people
don't
that
understand,
do it.
and I don't, and it's not because you're stupid. It's something that the world will probably never understand about Jewish people. Is many of people will love us, many people will hate us. A lot of people, there won't be a large in between. It's
You
a
know what's
matter of
funny, Rafi? Before this conflict, okay, there was no stigma against Jewish people in America.
that is so false. That is so
Zero.
false. It's crazy.
Zero.
That is
Yeah,
so
we're
Zero.
opening
false.
another topic. We're opening another
I
topic.
know.
No,
I
no,
know.
no,
We're
no.
never
I'm
getting into
saying,
it.
So
Kareem,
no, all I'm
Kareem,
really
saying
need
is
to
Kareem.
go.
there
Kareem,
was zero
the
stigma.
world hates us. The
Zero.
world hates us. The world hates us whether we had Israel or we didn't. They hate us if we're rich or we're poor, if we're
Not
dumb or
true.
we're smart.
That's really
Yes,
not
it
true.
is. Yes, it is.
Guys,
Americans hate Israel and the Jews today because our country went bankrupt fighting for Apex wars.
That
Plain
is. I'm sorry,
and
Kareem, but they hated.
simple.
They had reasons to hate us way before the modern state of Israel existed. The truth is we're
Because you gave them reasons to.
no, every other group has plenty of reasons to be hated.
Like in
The truth
England.
is
What happened in England?
we're disproportionately more successful. There's a lot to be envious about.
Sexual
Does our shit
blackmail?
stink? Does our shit stink? Of course it stinks. But the truth is this is part of what it is. It literally says it in the Bible that we're going to be hated. It's part of the narrative.
My
There's
point
a
is,
deeper
how do you
spiritual Kareem.
expect
There's a deeper spirituality to this, and I don't
Israelis are
claim to have the
spiritually
answers.
retarded, actually.
Huh?
Zionist Israelis are spiritually retarded,
Okay.
meaning they don't understand spiritual karma.
right, we can finish with that note. He made clear what he
Yeah.
thinks about
My point
why-
is,
Fine.
my point is, how do you expect Americans to not hate Jews in in Israel when they do things like
Well, because
what
if
they
most
I
do?
would let
Americans
Americans decide for themselves.
if most Americans understood what was going on in the rest of the world, and they
No,
understood
no, Americans
what
only
America,
understand why their country isn't where it should
Rafael,
be.
I would let
yeah,
Americans decide for themselves, and I would let this
also
jihadist kid
true.
here decide for
My point is,
himself. I think
Why are we not the greatest country in the world?
America, it absolutely
Why
is.
is our education 50th? Why is consumer credit card debt at all-time highs?
Because of the Jews.
No,
That's why.
no,
That's why.
because of the Middle Eastern wars.
Because of the
Because of the
Jews.
Middle
It's always
Eastern
because of the Jews.
wars. The
Yeah.
Middle
Because we
Eastern
want
wars.
America to be weak. I understand all the rhetoric. We want America. The leaders, the Jews, want America to. I know we got to cut it. They want America to be weak so we can control them and do everything for our own benefit. I know. I
I don't
understand his
know about
points. I
that.
get your
I'm
points.
literally talking as an American. Why are we bankrupt?
Why are you bankrupt?
Why
First of
are
all,
Why are
we?
you
Americans.
asking us, man? Like,
Hold on.
seriously.
No,
What happened?
okay, hold on.
Why are
One
you
thing.
asking us why is America
Oh no,
bankrupt?
I'm saying it's through the Middle Eastern wars.
All right, that's your opinion.
That was
Okay,
no,
good stuff.
that's not my opinion. That's literally a fact. It's like dollar signs and numbers. You could look at it.
China, all these other countries, Russia's also, all these countries are fighting wars.
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
little bit
listen, guys,
more to
My
that.
point is,
we'll never finish, this. We'll never finish this. We have to wrap it up already because I don't think most people are gonna have the
Israeli
attention
support in
span.
the U.S. is the lowest it's ever been. It'll continue to drop. The fastest growing conservative movement in America is an anti-Israel movement. Okay, so until Israelis can straighten their shit out, you will be abandoned, just as Ukraine was. Okay.
It's not gonna listen. The truth of the matter is no matter what, Israel's existence is gonna piss a lot of people off. But anyway, yeah. It's been yeah, dude, Kareem, I'm gonna bounce because I have to go too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but dude, we'll talk more on Instagram.
Do it
I'm
again.
open to
Tell him
talking
to
more.
do it again. But I want him to address my points. He doesn't.
But hold on. Let me wrap this up, okay?
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for making it this far. As always, like, subscribe, and share. Leave your comments. Follow me at Rafi the Realtor for all of your real estate needs. You can follow if you want to follow Kareem. Where's your where do we find you?
Instagram, Karim got it.
Right, but you don't really post anything.
No, I don't. I'm not really.
Okay. So anyway, he reached out to me from some of my videos. So guys, leave your comments, whatever they may be, and it is a wrap. Peace.